What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 5 Chapter 111. Auto-generated chapter title, 111. Ron ordered in front of Whitebeard. Execution of Ace, seeking subscription. Ron relieved the floating ability of the warship. Now, such a behemoth fell naturally from the sky. And where he fell, right below stood Whitebeard. An altitude of hundreds of meters, the warship fell faster and faster. It even rustled the surrounding wind. Whitebeard's expression changed. Will you give me a big gift as soon as you meet? It's a pity that you look down on me too much, right? Just such a warship, what is the difference between falling and goose feathers? I saw Whitebeard's expression indifferent. Subsequently, the entire right arm muscles burst out. A red light seemed to flash across his eyes. Whitebeard casually moved a bowl in the direction where the air warship fell. Boom! There was a loud noise. With Whitebeard's hand as the center, countless fine lines spread into the air. The whole space is full of cracks. This punch goes down. Even the space is shattered. This is the power of shock fruit. This invisible vibrating force. It spread directly through the air to the fallen warship. Broken. Then there was a louder bang, almost in an instant. A warship that is falling at a super fast speed, stopped directly in the air. As if the surrounding air had solidified. Unexpectedly, he couldn't get a point in Sha Luo. Immediately afterwards, this kind of appearance is directly broken by the warship cast by steel armor. It's like a porcelain bowl falling on the ground. Countless cracks spread on it. Just a moment, it burst directly into fragments and flew around in the air. Worthy of being Whitebeard, one of the 4 emperors. It smashed a warship to pieces easily. After the warship was broken into pieces, it scattered around. There are no warships to block the view. Advertisement. Everyone finally saw the figure floating in the sky. It's Ron, the army admiral who wiped out the ant pirates alone during the day. And at the moment, Ron was floating in the air. It's as if standing on the air. All pirates, at this moment, all of them hold their breath. Father, this guy can fly. Marco looked at Ron floating in the air with a weird expression. Since there is no wings, and without relying on any ability, he just floats in the air like this. This makes Marco, who also has the ability to fly, feel a little unbelievable. Whitebeard also frowned. After a moment of silence, he said. It's a familiar fruit ability. Could he have eaten the fruit of the golden lion guy? You can actually float in the air. Diamond George stepped forward and said. That said, the old man Garp just said. He said that Ron defeated Kaido, and he didn't lie at all. The Phoenix Marco nodded and said. Indeed, if Ron can fly, Kaido won't be his opponent with the combat power he showed during the day. However, the premise is that Ron has the strength of the daytime. Marcus stared at the figure in the sky, cannot help but frowned. Father, look at Ron's body carefully. Have you noticed something wrong? Marco, the Phoenix, noticed that Ron in the air was a little different. Whitebeard greeted. The distance is too far, but it can still be seen that he seems to have become smaller. Marco kept staring at Ron. At this moment, it suddenly seemed to have discovered something. Suddenly said with an angry face, Brother, what do you think Ron is holding? This guy. Marco gritted his teeth and couldn't say the following. Whitebeard was reminded. Also focus all eyes on a little. Sure enough, he saw that Ron was carrying something in his hand. But it's too far to see clearly. However, from the general outline, it should be a human figure. It's still the look in Diamond George's eyes. After just one glance, he exclaimed furiously. It's Ace, advertisement, this damn guy, he has Ace in his hand. Marco also nodded and said. I thought I was wrong. Ron is really damn. He dared to treat Ace like this. Watch me go up for a while and don't tear him apart. Whitebeard shook his head and said. Don't be impulsive, you are not his opponent. Marco said hurriedly. Father, it's Hydian now. I don't believe that Ron can still display this kind of power. Daddy, look at his size, isn't it much smaller than it was at noon? At this time, Ron slowly fell down from the air. Has the time of use of the power of the sin of laziness ended? It's really fast, now that the flight time is about to end. Ron didn't need to continue flying in the air, go down slowly. The ability to spend 1% of the progress value to exchange gold also made a lot of contributions. Ron nodded in satisfaction. At least this ability helped him get rid of Kaido as quickly as possible. Otherwise, for Kaido to fly back and forth in the air, Ron wants to defeat him, it is really not easy. After all, Kantar is still very flexible in the air. After defeating Kaido in 737, I want to return to Ma Lin to provide support. If there is no gold ability, I am afraid it will take 20 minutes. So Ron believes that this 1% progress value is worthwhile. Now Ron's Crime of Pride template progress value has reached 90.6%. If all the Whitebeard Pirates are eliminated, 7 more. Ron was also very uncertain about this. Let the pirates fry the pan directly. Killing Kaido and his 2-3 plagues only increased by 4%. Ron slowly fell to the execution stage. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. This didn't put him in the eye, then he threw Ace directly on the platform. Whitebeard was furious, especially Whitebeard. Unexpectedly, this Ron actually prepared to be executed in front of him. Ace said to the 2 executioners above, I hope Whitebeard, the strongest man, will have a reward schedule that matches his worth. After all, the progress value now grows more and more slowly. Prepare to be executed. A faint sentence. I don't know if it can reach 100%. Chapter 112. Auto-generated chapter title. 112. Ace, I'm sure to kill, and it's not easy for Jesus to come, I said. After Ron finished speaking, he threw Ace on the execution stage without hesitation. At this moment, Ace has passed out, because Ron's move burned him extensively. He passed out long before the warship arrived at Marin. At this moment, he was thrown heavily on the execution platform. The pain came again, directly awakening Ace. After Ace woke up, he looked around. Only then did I find myself on the execution stage. There are also sea-stone handcuffs. There was an executioner with a long knife on each side. And on the left front, Ron was standing there. Ace shook his head sharply. The memory from just now reappeared in an instant. He only remembered that he was hit to the bottom of the sea by Ron's big move, and then burned all over. Later, Kaido was killed by Ron. Then he fainted on Garp's boat. Unexpectedly, Ma Lin has now come to many, although it is dark now. But the whole Marlin is numerous and brightly lit. Countless lights illuminate this place, especially here in Qingtai. It has become the most shining spot in the center of the stage. And there was a burst of noise and screaming from below. They all scolded Ron, and all the pirates scolded him. Ace took a closer look. Only then did I find out that the following are not the same as Daddy Whitebeard. There seemed to be a brief truce between Marine and the pirate below. Thinking it was Ron's appearance that interrupted their battle. Ace found, the entire Marin has been destroyed in a mess. And the most incredible thing for him, Father Whitebeard seems to have become a lot younger. And the whole person is full of vigor, not at all as old and sick as before. How is this going? Did something strange happen to my father after I was arrested? Or did he use any costly method to save himself, so as to make yourself young? Father, Ace finally couldn't help yelling, this shout. The members of the Whitebeard Pirates group became even more angry in an instant. Obviously Ace is right in front of him, but beside him stood the monster Ron. Damn it, Ace. You are there waiting for us, we will save you right away. Phoenix Marco shouted. Advertisement Diamond George also clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Ace. You have to hold on, we will come right away. Foilbeatas. Ace, don't worry, the old man is no longer what he used to be, and no one is his opponent anymore. Besides, it's dark again now. That Ron is just an ordinary person. The pirates below began to shout in unison, murderous bursts. Suddenly, the whole scene became noisy again. The entire Whitebeard pirate group is now in awe. The appearance of Ace suddenly ignited their fighting spirit. The purpose of their trip is to save Ace. And now, Father Whitebeard has become so powerful again, what if he kills the 4 emperors? Not to mention that it is Haitian now, he can't exert his strength. Simply speaking of Whitebeard's peak state, he is not afraid of any opponents. Ace finally understood. It turns out that old Whitebeard thinks Ron Haitian can't perform well. That's why I am so confident. No, Ace was very anxious at the moment. He had personally seen how Ron killed Kaido. This is called unable to exert strength. This is called daytime. Kaido was hit by Ron holding his tail hanging. Basically there is no chance to fight back. If this is called no good, are there still people who can do it? It seems that Dad has gotten some wrong information. This Ron is also a strong group at night. No, you must let the old man know. This Ron is definitely not as thin as he looks on the surface. When he broke out, his figure was comparable to Kaido. Still looking at the pirates below, all are thankful because it is night. Now, must remind them, so Ace immediately shouted. Daddy, the Ron Knight particularly strong. That really is his Kaido killed, but now the following sound noisy. Just because his own father shouting that crash, results in the following enrage. One by one all the curse Ron, there are all kinds of shouting. Has a hybrid one, own voice which can pass out, even Ace pushed hard to cry. But below inaudible. Advertisement this could not help but make Ace more anxious. Damn it all, you do not affect, this Ron is not a little worse than during the day. But really, no one can hear his voice. Ron looked a touch of a kneeling there, Ace. Said blankly. You do not tell them to tell no avail, and today there can be a pirate to go out alive from here. One cannot. Ron's words very plain, still the expressionless look. As if to say a trivial matter, but the remark stopped at Ace's ears, only to feel back hair cool. Because he did not feel Ron bragging. Ron saw how the pirates will kill all prisons across the seabed. But also saw Ron Kaido as how to kill. No pirate at the scene knew Ron's strength better than Ace. No matter which battle it is. The underwater prison or Kaido, or in the nearest place, watch it with your own eyes. He even got Ron several skills. Only by seeing it with your own eyes and experiencing it with your own eyes can you feel the strength of this man. Ron just stared at Whitebeard like that, then he said lightly again. 15. The voice just fell. The 2 executioners with long knives behind him immediately raised the long knives, facing Ace's back and preparing to pierce them down. Seeing this scene, Whitebeard was instantly angry. Immediately roared. This roar actually carries the power of shock fruit. Continuously spread to the surroundings. Jiao Hao Jiao, he even shattered the surrounding walls. Ron, if you dare to kill Ace, I will let all of you Marine be buried. Whitebeard did what I said. I want to sink the whole Marineford to the bottom of the sea. Whitebeard was really angry this time. I didn't expect Ron to be so decisive. Just escorted Ace from the undersea prison to here, he was executed immediately. As Whitebeard yelled, the audience instantly became quiet. All the pirates who were talking about stared at Ron. However, unexpectedly Ron looked at Whitebeard, still that expressionless face. Said lightly, "Today, I will kill Ace. It's not easy for Jesus to come," I said. "Whitebeard, you can't run either, don't worry, it's your turn next." Song Chapter 113, Auto-generated chapter title, 113. Ron takes over the battlefield strongly, almost overhead Sengoku. It's not just Whitebeard and others' expressions of astonishment. When Ron said he wanted Ace to be executed, Sengoku was the first to look dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, this guy Ron would throw such a blockbuster right away when he first arrived. In front of Whitebeard, he was going to chop off his son directly. This is too fast. To know, Ron just brought Ace from the undersea prison to Marine headquarters. As soon as he arrived, he threw Ace directly on the execution table. And directly announced the execution. This movement is so smooth and flowing, there is no rest in the middle. Sengoku didn't think Ron was joking. With Ron's character, he can really do it. Although it is said that Ace will be executed sooner or later, and Ace's main task is to bring Whitebeard over. But Sengoku did not expect that Ron would actually execute Ace at this time. Because now Whitebeard has been attracted by Ace. In fact, Ace has no effect, but, as the resourceful general, Sengoku is very clear. That is now if the execution of Ace is the worst time. Because it would irritate Whitebeard, it's better to leave Ace a hope for Whitebeard. If the 737 really kills Ace, then Whitebeard will fall into a runaway state. Think about it. As a 4 emperors, and a 4 emperors who bear the title of the world's strongest man. In the end, he was killed by someone in front of him. So, what will this strongest man do? He will be furious. It may even enter a state of madness. Extreme anger will make this man's destruction even more chaotic. And anger will increase a person's strength. When a person becomes extremely angry, he can explode with 120% power, or even 150% power. Therefore, it is extremely unwise to anger the opponent before the battle. Ron did. And it's ultimate. He actually planned to execute Ace under the eyes of Whitebeard in front of all the pirates and Marine. To know, now the pirates on Whitebeard's side are still at an advantage. In other words, Ron was going to cut Whitebeard's hope directly in front of them. They attacked Marine from thousands of miles. Advertisement. All he saw was a corpse. Murder and punish the heart. But so, unexpectedly Ron, BEFC, this guy, Sengoku couldn't help sighing. He was originally Marine Marshal. All decisions on the entire battlefield should be left to him. Of course, including the execution of Ace is such an important step. But now, Ron is on his behalf. Skip yourself this Marshal. Privately issued such an important order. It stands to reason that this is absolutely not allowed in the military. But at the moment Sengoku didn't say anything, because he knows. Ron is the key to this battle. Now the entire Marine Ron has become a central figure. For nothing else. Just because of Ron's high prestige in Marine now. And when he first appeared, the Marine soldiers screamed and screamed. Even surpassed the expectations of him as a marshal. It only took Ron less than a week to achieve such prestige at Marine. This really makes Sengoku feel incredible. Ron has won the army now. This is the most terrifying. In other words, Ron's actions, even Ron's orders, will be embraced by these Marine soldiers. Just like now, when Ron gave this order that clearly exceeded his authority. The whole Marine jumped for joy. No one even felt that there was something wrong. Even if they knew that this action would anger Whitebeard. Still shouting excitedly, support Ron's execution of Ace. Not only that, the 2 executioners on the stage should know that it is impossible to lynch them without the order of Marshal Sengoku. Besides, Ron is not from Marine at all. He has no qualifications to deal with anything of Marine. Including this kind of order that can change the situation of the battle on such an important battlefield. Ron is just Army Admiral. In the Army, it is possible to echo 100 responses. But there are no substantive rights in Marine. Let alone execution. Ron has no right to even mobilize officers above Major. But even so, when Ron gave the order, the 2 of them actually raised the long swords in their hands. For a moment, Sengoku felt like he was being emptied. Advertisement Ron overstepped the order he had given, and no one actually resisted it. As soon as Ron came out, he basically took over the entire battlefield. This terrible control. Sengoku looked at the Marine soldiers around him with a feverish look. It seems that if Ron waved the flag now, he said he would attack the world government. This group of people will directly follow Ron to charge without hesitation. But, what worries Sengoku now is another point. That's Ron's current size. It's completely different from the state during the day. It looks a little thin and weak. In fact, it can be concluded basically. In this kind of late night, Ron's strength is limited to a certain extent, even far inferior to ordinary people. But, he still defeated Kaido and settled the underwater prison. According to Garp, Ron seemed to have some way to force the use of the power of the day. I just don't know if there are sequelae, and I don't know how long it can be used. This made Sengoku a little worried. Ron's time has come to use that state tonight, what should I do? Then you can no longer use that power, doesn't this mean? Does this add fuel to the fire now? When Sengoku said this, looked at the sky as still starry, it is late at night now. At the darkest hour of the day, Sengoku glanced at Whitebeard again. 9 more, substantial red airwaves visible to the naked eye. And especially concentrated on the execution platform. Full of the audience, I can't even consider it now. Sengoku looked at Ron's body again. It is indeed no longer the kind of strength during the day, as if it has reached the weakest state. Almost instantly, Sengoku couldn't help but worry. And at this moment, an angry Whitebeard saw the long knives of the 2 executioners and was about to hit Ace. This kind of almost substantive conquerors is so strong that it can't be added. Of course, Ron is also included. He is forcibly making everyone on the execution stage faint. I saw Whitebeard burst out the powerful conqueror's haki directly. Chapter 114. Auto-generated chapter title, 114. Bai Hu Gen fainted to execute the soldiers? Ron executed the torture himself, seeking subscription? In fact, Ron had a question before, when Ron was watching One Piece. Especially to the top chapter of the war, Ron was thinking. Since Whitebeard will Conqueror's haki, why not use it directly on the battlefield? With Conqueror's haki, especially Conqueror's haki at the level of 4 emperors. It is estimated that it can easily be more than half of Marine. Let's stun all of them. Wouldn't this be beneficial to Whitebeard and the others in their top war? So why doesn't he use it, especially these royal figures? Almost they will not use Conqueror's haki shockstar opponents' minions in battle. Obviously it is such an easy to use clearing skill. And they just used Conqueror's haki to entangle so as to achieve the effect of melee invincibility. Only Luffy used Conqueror's haki to clear the creeps. Like Ant Whitebeard and Kaido, they have never done this before. Isn't it because you can't wipe your face? Ron really thought about this issue seriously. Especially in the battle at the top, so many Marine soldiers played against the Whitebeard Pirates with superior numbers. At that time, if Whitebeard was a Conqueror's haki, isn't it useful to play against the situation? Moreover, it has reached the critical moment of critical survival. Seeing so many soldiers under his own death, it is a bit unreasonable to not use it at that time. In short, this operation confuses Ron. Is it possible that all the masters have already agreed? When fighting with each other, don't use Conqueror's haki to stun the opponent's minions. It is not used on Whitebeard, so it is not available on Marine either. Perhaps there was such an agreement between their top masters. It is like a battle between nuclear powers without first using nuclear bombs. Ron thought, but this time, really forced Whitebeard out. Conqueror's haki was directly activated, preparing to stun the executioner. The strong Conqueror's haki, just like the essence. Red and black. Centered on 4 emperors Whitebeard Edward Newgate. Spread quickly to the surroundings. The diffusion rate is extremely fast. Almost instantly, it filled the entire battlefield. Under Whitebeard's full burst, advertisement Conqueror's haki can be used at his level. It is simply not something ordinary people can resist. Most Marine soldiers, especially the Marine soldier who was closer to Whitebeard, rolled his eyes almost on the spot, foaming at the mouth and fell to the ground. Even nearby buildings and ships have seen a lot of damage. Under the attack of this Conqueror's haki, it broke directly. Conqueror's haki who can do physical attacks, its strength is self-evident. The Marine soldiers who were farther away were also in a trance. Although he didn't faint immediately, he fainted after 2 swings. And the 2 executioners on the execution platform. There was almost no struggling to spit out white foam and fainted. Conqueror's haki facing the strongest man in the world. Ordinary people simply can't stay awake in front of them. What also surprised Whitebeard, Ron, who seemed to be relatively thin, didn't fall. He thought he would directly knock everyone on the execution platform down. It seems that this guy really has 2 things. Didn't you say that? This guy is weaker than ordinary people at night. Why doesn't it look like it? Whitebeard a little doubted Ben Beckman's intelligence. Sengoku frowned suddenly, and seemed to be dissatisfied with Whitebeard's misplaced Conqueror's haki. After just a round of attacks, the casualties of their Marine soldiers almost reached more than half. All were stunned by Whitebeard's Conqueror's haki. From this look, it is estimated that it will be unable to get up for a while. Kizaru cocked his mouth, touched his chin, and watched the soldiers fall down beside him. Send, have you used Conquerors? It's really scary? Akainu snorted coldly, and said with a sullen face. Unexpectedly, he was forced to use this method. It seems that Whitebeard was really angry just now. Aokiji nodded and said, after all, it is very embarrassing to use Conqueror's haki to clean up the minions. As the 4 emperors, I disdain it at all. It seems that I am really pressed this time. Ron Admiral, choosing to kill Ace at this time is indeed an unwise move. Now Whitebeard is going to run away. Garp has a bad face. Has this old guy started to disregard the rules of the battlefield? Whitebeard showed such a scene of haki, for flowers. Saved Ace directly. This move, of course Marco was excited in an instant. The momentum of the entire Whitebeard pirate group suddenly soared. He instantly brought back the aura that had just been reduced by Ron's appearance. Advertisement, it's getting stronger now. With the old man, they're very relieved. Worthy of being the strongest man in the world. Conqueror's haki just now. Even if they did not target them, these pirates still felt infinite pressure. That kind of near substantial oppression. I felt breathless just from the stroke of my side. There is such a strong old man. What's so scary? Marine is just a paper tiger. Now the entire battlefield, the number of troops on both sides has been transferred. It was originally dominated by Marine. Now he has become a pirate. The haki used by Whitebeard just now caused at least 60,000 to 70,000 people to faint. It's not because Whitebeard's haki can only hit 6 to 70,000 people, but because the entire Marineford battlefield is too big. The personnel stations are scattered, and Whitebeard's haki mainly focused on attacking Ron and the two executioners on the execution platform. That's why only 6 to 70,000 Marines were stunned. Now, Whitebeard's eyes were deep cold. He also completely ignored what people around him said. Just below, staring at Ron on the execution stage. Now there are no executioners. Then came to Ace again. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Walked to the side of the two executioners who had fainted. Is this going to stab Ace to death personally? Then he bent down and picked up the long knife on the ground. In other words, Ace is saved, then slowly turned around. Hold it in his hand. As long as you rush to defeat this Ron, you can save Ace. Do you want to execute the sentence yourself? Whitebeard couldn't help but smile. 10 more pills. This Ron, however, what he never expected was. Ron actually smiled at him, raised the long knife directly. The battle has become very simple. Whitebeard's expression changed drastically. Chapter 115. Auto-generated chapter title, 115. Ron's personal execution of torture made the soldiers scream, prestige soared. Marco shook his whole body, gritted his teeth and said, "This guy really wants to do it, damn it. B*****************, D. He really wants to kill Ace." Diamond George looked anxious. It's not good. Dad's Conqueror's haki is of no use to him. This guy. It doesn't seem so weak on the surface. Ben Beckman's intelligence may be wrong. Foil Vista is also at a loss, but I still analyze it carefully. The intelligence of that guy Ben Beckman has never been wrong. What's going on this time? No, that Ron's size does seem to be more than a circle smaller than it was at noon. And I can feel his aura is very weak. Ben Beckman's intelligence is not wrong. He should be very strong, so he resisted Conqueror's haki, but the body is still very weak. In other words, when he played against Kaido just now, he used the 74-0 ability like using the life return. He overdrawn his combat power, and he should be in a weak state now. But even after analyzing this point, no way, Ace is too far away from them. After Conqueror's haki, who thought the old man, solved the two executioners, Marine will not execute Ace for the time being until the new executioners arrive. After all, according to Marine's regulations, for example, the execution must be done by specialized personnel. And on that execution platform, there was no one else except Ron who was still standing. After Whitebeard used Conquerors to stun others. In fact, everyone in the Whitebeard pirate group was relieved. At least in the current situation, Marine can only send the next executioner there. Before that, it can be guaranteed that Ace's life will never be deprived. According to common sense, you can know, no prisoner must be postponed. It's impossible for the Ron next to him to do it himself. However, Ron always does things by surprise. No one thought that Admiral would personally intervene. A dignified Admiral, will he execute the sentence himself? Who could have expected this? It's not just Whitebeard's dumbfounded look. Even Marine was shocked for a while. Is the army so fierce? It's the army, it's wild, and Admiral can do things like execution. Too sturdy, right? Marine soldiers, watching Ron Admiral personally raise the butcher knife. At first there was some consternation, because this scene is really weird. Advertisement and Admiral actually did such a thing himself. But when they passed a brief consternation after accepting this fact. Re-enter into the carnival. Ron's sturdy character and his eclectic approach are too popular among the civilians. Most of these Marine soldiers are ordinary people, completely different from those Marine senior officials. But there are not so many rules, on the contrary. They still prefer unruly tough guy characters like Ron to those messy rules. What if there is no execution officer? Must wait until the executioner comes over. Can't it be executed personally? What about Admiral? Who stipulated that Admiral could not execute the sentence himself? Watching Ron raise the long knife in his hand, naturally, the Marine soldiers fell into a frenzy. They really like this Admiral so much, do things completely eclectic. There is no shelf for Admiral at all. Unlike the other Admiral, they know where they are dangling back and forth with their hands in their pockets. Yes, it's Kizaru. These soldiers did not forget to give Huang Yuan a glance. I have never seen such a shameless Admiral. Is this here for the catwalk? Dignified to the top of the war, fighting for such a long time. A whole piece of clothing does not even touch ashes. The clothes are not dirty. Look at how hard a Kainu is. People vomited blood several times, however, these soldiers dare not express it. Although looking at Kizaru Admiral was very annoying, it took a long time for the ink to come out. Played for a long time, but only at the edge. Kizaru seemed to feel some eyes staring at him. He couldn't help but touch his chin and glanced at a few soldiers. Wrong. Is it the old man's illusion? How did you feel that someone was filming the old man just now? Sengoku took a deep breath. He didn't expect that Ron would do it himself. This man always surprises him. In fact, Sengoku is extremely disapproving and kills Ace now. Advertisement but seeing the cheering eyes of Marine soldiers around him. Sengoku still shook his head, sighed, and didn't stop Ron. Now Ron is what the military wants. I am afraid that with the current fanatical attitude of the Marine soldiers, it should be difficult for him to say any order now. It is estimated that they would not listen to themselves. These soldiers now only have Ron Admiral in their minds. This makes Sengoku a little speechless. Ron's unruly behavior did not expect to gain such a high prestige. It seemed that Ron did what the Marine soldiers always wanted to do, but no one did it. Maybe they don't need a Covenant Admiral, it needs an Admiral as wild as Ron. Oh, there are unexpected joys. It's a good thing to have a couple. Someone took the initiative to come and die. When Ron's long knife was about to stab Ace, suddenly, inexplicably speaking. Ace frowned. He is not afraid of death. However, Ron actually killed him in front of his father's direct commander, which is really detrimental to the face of their Whitebeard Pirates. It's just that he can't struggle now. With seastone handcuffs on his body, Ron's terrifying strength also dispelled his thoughts of struggling. Now the entire Whitebeard pirate group, only he has truly seen Ron's explosive power at night. And, according to Ace's observation, he found that it seemed like the old man had some misunderstanding about Ron's strength. It seems that I have heard some unreliable information. So, Ace wants to spread the news, but it's too noisy below. I yelled many times, but Father Whitebeard couldn't hear him. I was looking at the long knife about to stab myself. I-5.2S no longer holds any hope of being alive. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Ron suddenly stopped and said something inexplicable. What do you mean? Still raising his head, looking at Ron with cold eyes and asked. And Ron also smiled, Ron under this size, not like the kind of deadpan noon, unsmiling. I saw Ron look at the distant, frozen Aokiji out above the waves. Is there a boat? It is rapidly falling down. I did not expect, on top of earlier wars, the King Luffy this guy and she was on time. Ron could not help but chuckle. Chapter 116, Auto-generated chapter title. 116. Celestial Dragons? Did I say not to kill Celestial Dragons? It has to be said that Juan Luffy's road to robbery has become exceptionally smooth. It goes well, it can't go well anymore. There was no battle at all. Juan Luffy originally wanted to take Ace out of the sea prison by boat. Unexpectedly, when I went there, the underwater prison had become a piece of scorched earth. The building above has been razed, and a raging fire is still burning. Juan Luffy thought it was Ace's successful escape. Later, I met the sand crocodile who had escaped in the underwater prison. Originally, crocodiles followed Yan and Quinn and left here with the ability to fly. But Crocodile still kept an eye on it, because he found that Ron was chasing in the direction of these two people. Knowing that Ron's goal was not himself, Crocodile Rick left the team and flew in the other direction. Fortunately, he has the ability of sandstorms, and it is not a problem for him to fly in the air for a long time. As a result, Crocodile returned to the undersea prison. There I ran into C-14 Jinbei, because it is a murloc. So, when Ron destroyed the underwater prison, this guy jumped into the water the first time. This is to avoid being swallowed by that huge fireball. Both guys were Shichibukai before, know each other too. I also know that at this time, the chances of forming a companion and fleeing are higher. Then, the two hit it off, just when they were about to leave. Suddenly, on the lower level of the underwater prison, the S********* King brought a group of new she-males and walked out of the mezzanine of the two-story prison. They were not affected by the explosion because they were at the bottom. And because of Ron's attack, almost the entire underwater prison has been wiped out. They also walked out very smoothly. When I saw it turned into a scorched earth look outside. The Demon King couldn't help taking a deep breath. Then, King Jinbei and Crocodile, these three guys are undoubtedly combined. Jinbei can swim. Therefore, Crocodile took the other people in the kingdom to fly in the air. It happened to be at this moment that I saw Luffy. The warship that Luffy Chang had originally came to rescue Ace. But it was empty, is preparing to turn back to Ma Linman. Advertisement. It is precisely because there is no rescue process in the underwater prison that Luffy's time to go to Marin has been much earlier. This is also the reason why the war on the top was launched in advance, and Luffy was able to arrive in the early morning. Then, these people decided to take Luffy's boat and try to leave the marine area from the main entrance where there are many marlins. Ever since, this is what happened now. The ship that Luffy snatched, at this moment, is rising from the ice layer hundreds of meters high. The scene of falling downwards, accompanied by Luffy yelling. The entire ship fell from an altitude of several hundred meters. This call instantly attracted all eyes. Ace finally saw it. Only then did he understand what Ron said. Luffy. Ace shouted. Damn it, why did Luffy come? It's terrible now. Don't he know that Ron Admiral is great? With such a decisive character of this guy, Luffy would definitely not be let go. Ace didn't expect that Luffy, who had killed him, would also come and die. Damn it. You kill me now, but let Luffy go. Although he is a pirate, he has not done anything intolerable. Ace said to Ron immediately. Ron smiled and shook his head. Look at Ace. Said, a robber is a robber. Wouldn't I think that a robber is not a robber because he often helps an old woman to cross the road? Ace was taken aback. Understood what Ron meant. He will definitely not let Luffy go. Although this guy's strange metaphor he did not understand. But Ron's tone and attitude have already expressed his position. Did you Marine never do anything bad? What is the difference between some Marines and pirates? Ace said in a deep voice. Ron shook his head slightly. I am the army. What stupid Marine has done has nothing to do with me. But if I run into it, there is no difference between the fate of them and the pirates. Just kidding. Ron's 7 deadly sins template system points to the elimination of sins to increase progress. Ron still has 6 templates, it only depends on pirates. How could Ron let go of any opportunity to increase the template's progress? Advertisement Ace's expression changed. Unexpectedly, Ron would say such a thing. Even if you are an army, aren't you also a subordinate organization of the world government? Do you have to follow the orders of celestial dragons? Do you think celestial dragons is better than pirates? What they did is not even as good as pirates. Ace thought that he said so. We will be able to defeat Ron, just logic. Even they are such people, so, Marine Army service for such people, what do pirates face accusations? However, let Ace never expected yes. Ron went on to say, so he was covered back hair cool. Even the heart cannot be calm, resulting in a long time he did not say any word of dismay. Look at the man in front of you, his eyes became shocked. I saw Ron staring at Ace, then the tone is indifferent. With a smile on his face, he said softly, I said 740, I won't kill celestial dragons? Ace only felt that the whole person was under a huge impact. Ron unexpectedly said such shocking words in such a relaxed and ordinary tone. He meant that even if it was celestial dragons, he would kill. This guy. What does he take Admiral's identity? He is not serving the world government at all, he is serving himself. And, even celestial dragons and world government, he will not be merciful. Ace couldn't calm down for a long time. Looking at the Marine soldiers who were cheering for Ron below, Ron's prestige had reached this level now. Ace is saying if he really won the war on the top, then, these soldiers still can't respond to Ron. If this time is really reached, it's hard not to guarantee that Ron won't take them to Marijoy. Kill celestial dragons and overthrow the world government. Thinking of this, Ace took a breath. This Ron, he is a ruthless person. Ace can't imagine. I don't know how Sengoku should feel if he finds that the helper he invited is such a ruthless character. Chapter 117. Auto-generated chapter title, 117. Huang Yuan. The time has come to test the old man's acting skills, seeking subscription. Luffy. Garp was taken aback for a moment. I never expected that my own grandson would also come. Although it is dark now, but Garp still recognized it. The man who fell from the sky was Luffy. Sengoku's face was black too. Can't help but stare at Garp and said. Your family can really cause trouble. This Luffy is your grandson, right? Garp touched the back of his head awkwardly and nodded. Deliver? Sengoku didn't want to bother about this second item. The appearance of Luffy directly caused the entire battlefield situation to fall into a stalemate. Boom. The warship fell directly onto the sea below. It just so happens that the ice city here was chipped open by the Diamond George. This resulted in them not falling to the ground and falling to pieces. However, the presence of Crocodile will not make them fall. Akainu clenched his fist and said in a deep voice. Is it Dorag's son? Also Garp's grandson, really a troublesome guy, he must be killed. Aokiji thoughtfully. It's a troublesome guy, but are you sure you can kill him? When Aokiji finished saying this, didn't he forget to turn his eyes in Garp's direction? Kizaru touched his chin. He had seen everything through fishing all year round. Huh, another troublesome guy. The old man should stay away from him when he fights for a while. In case you accidentally kill Garp's precious grandson, this old fellow Garp can't spare the old man. The less trouble, the better. It seems it's time to test the old man's acting skills again. As soon as this remark came out, Aokiji and Akainu couldn't help but glared at Kizaru. It is speechless. It is a shame to be Admiral with this kind of person. Father, this is the younger brother that Ace often mentions. It seems that his appearance actually stopped Ron Admiral. Ace is temporarily saved. This is our good opportunity, Daddy. The Phoenix Marco flew over immediately and said excitedly. They thought Ace was going to die just now, however, never expected. Because of the appearance of a lil pirate, the battle situation has changed slightly. Whitebeard's expression at the moment was extremely ugly. Ron's behavior just now has deeply stimulated him. This guy. I really intend to kill Ace, and I must speed up the action here. Although I don't know why Ron stopped his actions because of the appearance of Luffy. But, Whitebeard had a hunch that Ron stopped killing Ace not because he changed his mind. Although I don't know what the purpose is, but, this situation will not last long. Advertisement, so we must rescue Ace immediately, after Luffy's group landed. Luffy immediately yelled at Ace's execution stand. Ace, I'll save you. It is probably the first time to come to this kind of battlefield. Luffy is very excited. After shouting, he immediately rushed in the direction of Ace. Let the originally stagnant battle situation immediately move again. Crocodile frowned. He never expected that he would fall into Marin Many. This is not good. If you didn't see the man on the execution stage, Crocodile wouldn't be afraid to be here. But when Crocodile found out, Ron was standing there. His expression changed immediately. To know, not long ago, he saw with his own eyes how Ron slaughtered the quartet. Where Crocodile can get lucky depends entirely on his ability to fly. He is not stupid. At this time, choosing to face Ron, isn't this looking for death? Damn it, I don't know if it will be too late now. And Ivankov, King of the S********** Kingdom, looking at Ron's face at this moment. His expression changed drastically. He is a senior cadre of the Revolutionary Army. Although he was in prison, he was still able to maintain intelligence exchanges with the Revolutionary Army. Just a month ago, Ivankov received a secret report from Long, the leader of the Revolutionary Army. According to the secret report, the Revolutionary Army has recently encountered a strong siege from the army. An admiral in the army didn't know where it came from and killed 2 army commanders in a row. This greatly frustrated the morale of the entire Revolutionary Army. The overall strength has also fallen a lot, and the man described by Long. According to the photo above, Ivankov immediately recognized that it was the man on the execution stage. It turns out that he just destroyed the underwater prison. Because Ivankov was underground, he didn't join the prison escape army at first. So he didn't see with his own eyes who destroyed the prison. Just heard Crocodile talk about it. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be this guy. He is the enemy of the Revolutionary Army. Isn't this guy an army? How could he appear here? But this is also good, if you can use Whitebeard to get rid of this guy. It also reduced a lot of pressure on the Revolutionary Army. Chief Long's plan will also go much smoother. Ivankov was already thinking carefully at this moment. He decided to use Whitebeard's hand to kill this revolutionary enemy. But, although Ivankov found that Whitebeard had become younger at this moment and had returned to his peak state. But, Ivankov was still worried. What if Whitebeard in this state can't beat Ron anymore? Advertisement that would have missed this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to kill Ron. Ivankov looked at his palm. 5 needles protruded from 5 fingertips. There was a plan in my mind. That was he was going to inject hormones into Whitebeard. Inject a lot of adrenaline, so as to stimulate Whitebeard's super combat power in an instant. Anyway, now Whitebeard will definitely try his best to save Ace anyway. And will do everything possible to use all means. Then he would definitely not mind the power gained by squeezing his life. Ivankov's adrenaline can increase the strength of the number of times. People will not feel tired or pain in a short period of time. If this ability works on Whitebeard, how terrible it would be. Ivankov believes that if Whitebeard is in this state, he will be able to easily defeat Ron. Don't look at so many people on the entire battlefield. But the purpose is different. Ivankov's current goal is to use Whitebeard's hand to kill Ron and relieve the Revolutionary Army of the great troubles. The purpose of the Whitebeard Pirates is to save Ace. As for the remaining forces of the Kaido pirate group, the remaining troops headed by the 6 volleys, they have not recovered from the ending of Kaido's death. Luffy's rampage, as a result, Marine and the pirates who were still facing each other started to clash again. Whitebeard stood there and didn't move. Instead, he looked at Ron coldly. Give a loud shout. Ron, you successfully angered me. Being able to defeat Charlotte Linlin is enough to prove your strength. But if the information I got is correct, that power can only be used during the day. And it's early morning. Your current physical state has also been clearly reflected, and you can't use that power again at all. If I'm right, you need to rely on the sun for your abilities. If there is no sun, if you forcefully use your abilities, Zhao, there must be a time limit or the side effects will be great. Can't help but smile. Don't be scared by this guy Ron, he is just an ordinary person now. See, Ron didn't speak. Take Whitebeard Zero. Once it is used up, it will fall into a state of shrinking. You can use all the energy that you usually accumulate in an instant. Just like Ron is now. Little ones, don't be afraid of death. Follow in my footsteps, go with me and Dad, rescue Ace. Those who are good at restoring life, use combat protection boxing in almost this state. Whitebeard knew he was right. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Of course, I have seen this state. This state seems to have suffered a great backlash. Whitebeard stared at Ron with some thin bodies, then he waved his sword and said. It's dark now. Kaido has run out of your time using this ability at night, right? Chapter 118. Auto-generated chapter title. 118. Huang Yuan paddling acting. Ron kicked him, seeking subscription. Whitebeard finally launched an all-out attack. It seems that the battlefield has entered a white-hot stage. Ron's move to kill Ace really stimulated Whitebeard. Suddenly, all the pirates are running like 1,000 horses. He shouted and rushed towards the execution platform. Sengoku watched this scene and sighed. He wanted to give orders. But watching Ron on the execution stage, it seems that he has mastered the control of the battlefield. At this time, Marine listened to him all, and seemed to have forgotten his marshal. Forget it, it's up to him. It's just that Ron in this state is really okay? Looking at this figure, I am really worried. Garp walked over and comforted. Don't worry, well, old man, this guy said, he can burst out that kind of power at any time at night. V=_=#. Hope, now I can only rely on Ron, cough. Sengoku coughed twice after saying this. Obviously, the injury by Whitebeard just now was serious. At his age, being able to stop Whitebeard at his peak for so long is already very powerful. Little ones, follow in Luffy's footsteps, be sure to protect Luffy, go. Whitebeard shouted. What a wise man Whitebeard, he didn't think that Luffy was Ace's younger brother to give this order. But because of, Whitebeard found that almost all 740 Marine executives would not forcefully intercept after seeing Luffy. At this moment, Whitebeard figured it out, because Luffy is Garp's grandson. These Marine executives will give Garp more or less face. It's impossible to really kill Ron in front of Garp. And Garp was in front of the execution stand now. If other pirates want to break through the Garp level, it is really harder. Unless you go out yourself, but now he wants to contain Admiral here. So I can't get out of it at all. If one of these subordinates broke through Garp's interception, he went directly to the execution platform. Whitebeard couldn't think of anyone who could do it. But this is God's destiny, because Luffy is here. With Whitebeard's cleverness, it was obvious at a glance how much Garp felt sorry for this grandson. So, Whitebeard is sure that Garp will release the water in this battle. And Luffy is the best candidate to break through to the execution stand. In order to give Garp face, these marine executives didn't have to try their best to intercept. This ensures that as long as you follow in Luffy's footsteps, you can reach the front of the execution table with minimal casualties. Although Garp stopped there. Advertisement, but if it's Luffy. Does Garp really target his grandson? The answer is definitely no. In other words, Luffy will definitely break Garp's level. So as to reach the execution platform. So Luffy is an extremely crucial figure in this battle. Whitebeard has seen this through. That's why they ordered their subordinates to protect Luffy's safety. In fact, the original intention was to let them charge with Luffy. Only in this way can we successfully break through to the execution stand. Older gingers are more spicy. Whitebeard saw the key to this battle at a glance. This is why he gave this order. It's not all because Luffy is Ace's younger brother, so he wants to protect him. Instead, use Luffy's identity to break through to the execution stand. Almost instantly, after Whitebeard gave the order, all the pirates under his command changed the direction of attack. Around Luffy. Start to rush forward. Sure enough, Luffy passed the test all the way. Even some Vice Admiral, when facing Luffy, he can be hit by Luffy's ordinary rubber machine gun. Who believes this meow? Vice Admiral can't be watered this way. Not because they think Luffy is Garp's grandson. Garp's reputation is in Marine. Who doesn't know? Who doesn't? Who would offend such a guy in idleness? So it created the current situation. A little pirate, worth less than 400 million. In this kind of occasion, we are advancing all the way. Punch one Vice Admiral. It's really weird, however, the direction he impacted. In addition to Vice Admiral, there's also a particularly heavyweight. That is Kizaru Admiral. Kizaru is also complaining here. He watched Luffy rush towards him. BEFC, 10,000 grass mud horses rushed past in my heart. Send. Why does this guy rush toward me? What do you let the old man do? The old man has already gone to such a remote place. Just to avoid these troubles, you even took the initiative to send it over. The old master stepped down. You might die. You let the old man misunderstand you? Kizaru, now is really caught in a dilemma. On the one hand, Luffy rushed in his direction. If you don't intercept it, it's really unreasonable. Advertisement after all, if a little pirate with such a low reward order breaks through in front of him. That's really too fake. Vice Admiral's acting like that, it's okay. But he is Admiral. Even if Admiral is standing here with his eyes closed, it is impossible for him to break through. Although Kizaru likes to fish, he can't act so fake. But if you intercept it yourself, if you can't grasp the importance of this step, it is really easy to kick Luffy to death. It's best to kill the toll in public here. Garp hammers himself before he can come up. Don't look at it now. Garp has an indifferent expression on his face. But a fool would believe that he didn't care about Luffy. Kizaru didn't even doubt that if this kick kicked Luffy to death, Garp would have skipped and hammered himself. No, in line with the principle that one thing is worse than one thing less. Kizaru looked at Luffy, who was getting closer, and then glanced in Whitebeard's direction. Live your own way. He decided to take Luffy into Whitebeard's hands. After all, there's the safest place in the entire battlefield. So Garp shouldn't bother himself, right? The old man is really a genius. Akainu watched Luffy rush to Kizaru's position, so he shouted immediately. Porcerino, don't let that kid go. He must be a big trouble in the future. Kill him quickly. Kizaru stroked his chin. Akainu glanced blankly. You are a stupid old man. If you want to kill you, I don't want to offend people like this. Rubber machine gun. Luffy was really overwhelmed by this pass. There is a feeling that Marine is nothing more than that. As everyone knows, these Marine Vice Admiral people gave his grandpa face. Luffy saw this Kizaru Admiral in front of him. Unexpectedly, he attacked him very hard and without hesitation. Kizaru sighed. There is really no way. Control the power very carefully. Then, aim in Whitebeard's direction. Boom. Volley directly. Perfect. No one can tell that I'm acting now, right? Just when Kizaru was proud of his masterpiece, suddenly a hot figure appeared behind him, staring at him very unhappy. Not good. Kizaru felt cold. Why did Ron Admiral suddenly appear behind him? Chapter 119. Auto-generated chapter title, 119. Ron ends and fights Whitebeard, subscription required. Go. Save Ace. Follow Ace's brother, protect Ace's brother, don't let him die. A second ago, these pirates were still shouting and charging with Luffy. It was discovered in a second that Luffy had been taken back by Kizaru. Ring this. This kick of Kizaru volleyed, it really surprised all Marines. Even Akainu and Aokiji are embarrassed. Brother, you are too obvious to release the water, right? Kizaru thought that his acting skills were pretty good. Just kick Luffy into Whitebeard's hands, and everything has nothing to do with him anymore. No matter what happens afterwards, this way Garp will never find himself again, right? Ron had been sent to the safest place anyway, and no one present should be able to tell that they have released the water. After all, this step is also a real attack, okay? However, Kizaru didn't notice. He and Whitebeard are at least a few kilometers away. This does not include the fact that there are so many marine soldiers and pirates between the two people. So many marine soldiers and pirates fight each other between the two. That position changes rapidly. Let alone a person, it is impossible for even a fly to fly in a straight line. But Kizaru is in this angle, very precise, volleys. It's almost in the short-term gap. It is estimated that this precise gap will appear in the entire battlefield in less than a second. I saw Luffy, it was very precise and didn't even touch a pirate or marine figure. Just passed through the crowds, it fell into Whitebeard's hands with great precision. This accuracy, the degree of control of the timing. It is simply a master of masters. If it weren't for observation haki to reach a peak level, it would be impossible to kick such a precise kick. This is too obvious, right? Even Sengoku has a black face. You stepped down so precisely, and as a result, Luffy didn't suffer any injuries. When it fell into the hands of Whitebeard, like a okay person, it was placed on the ground by Whitebeard. This is his meow called Admiral's kick. When you kicked those supernovas at Sabo de Archipelago, it wasn't like that. Sengoku's face was indescribably ugly, Yellow Ape stared fiercely. But he can't do anything with this Admiral. Kizaru has always been this kind of fish-catching character. No matter who cares about him, it won't work. Sengoku has talked about him many times. It just has no effect. This guy is really dared to act in a high-end game like the Top War. How shameless this is. This precise kick made Sengoku bow down. Advertisement for him, he couldn't hear such a precise kick. Passing through the crowd, the leaf does not touch your body, it can keep the opponent from being injured at all. Really a master. It is worthy of being Admiral, and the skill of this trick is enough for ordinary people to practice for decades. Garp's face looked a little better now, although snorted. But it can be seen that under his serious face, he is still very happy in his heart. Very satisfied with Kizaru's actions. Kizaru himself is also very satisfied with the operation. What a genius, until Ron appeared behind him. Ron was expressionless at the moment. This guy Kizaru is so capable of acting. This time Ron saw it with his own eyes, really saw the shame of this guy. This is too obvious, right? Ron wasn't used to him. Obviously it is late at night, but the body that was originally thin and thin suddenly grew stronger. At the moment, push the ground hard, the powerful reaction force pushed Ron to disappear from the execution stage in an instant. Almost in the blink of an eye, he arrived behind Kizaru. The sun in the heart of the skills suddenly activated. Ron directly became the sturdy appearance during the day. The whole person's momentum soared. The familiar feeling of oppression is back. This is why Huang Yuan didn't look back, but he could feel Ron behind him. That familiar sense of oppression, just like a big mountain, behind me. This reminded Kizaru of the battle against Akainu when Ron first came. And the battle with Aokiji. Kizaru couldn't help but his face sank. He also couldn't understand why Ron suddenly appeared behind him. And still directly opened the combat state, could it be? Sure enough, I only heard Ron say faintly behind him. Are you acting? Although there are only a few short words. But Kizaru felt a chill in his back. Ron really turned into the daytime state, and even his tone was indifferent, making people feel like he was being scrutinized. Kizaru turned his head awkwardly. Does this guy see that he is acting? Obviously, his acting is so perfect, just wanted to explain something. In the end, Ron never gave him a chance to explain. Turn around and kick directly, he kicked it heavily on Huang Yuan's shoulder. Research. 0 This speed is too fast. Kizaru didn't react once for a while. Just instinctively used both hands to block Ron's leg. However, the huge force kicked Kizaru directly into the air. It turned into a stream of light and hit the ground. Advertisement there was a boom, seeking flowers. A huge pit appeared across the ground, it's like a meteor hitting the ground. It can be seen how heavy Ron's foot is. Ron didn't even look at Kizaru in the pit. Just took a faint glance, those Vice Admiral just now? Then said, from now on, whoever dares to release the water again will end in this way. There was an uproar in the audience. Those Vice Admiral who had let off the water just now dare not speak. Garp's face was dark, but the other marine soldiers were silent for a moment and suddenly cheered. As expected of Ron Admiral, still so handsome. They had seen Kizaru's release of water early, because these marine soldiers are fighting desperately below. But Kizaru is an admiral, not to mention the paddling, but even release the water. Just let the enemy go. This makes these little soldiers extremely unbalanced. Point 0 I was fighting desperately, why are you putting water there? At this time, Ron stood up and kicked the person who released the water. And leave ruthless words, it really gave these marine soldiers a sigh of relief. At this time, Ron's prestige among marine soldiers increased. It can be seen from the cheers of these marine soldiers. Sengoku was also unbelievable, looking at Ron. Kizaru has been paddling and fishing, and he has been unable to deal with it. Never thought that Ron was so cruel. Directly use thunder means to teach on the spot. It doesn't even matter that the two sides are currently fighting against Whitebeard. Just beat Kizaru on the spot. Sometimes Sengoku has to feel that Ron is too bold. No wonder it was supported by these marine soldiers. Whitebeard stared at this scene dumbfounded. 5 more pills. So this opportunity must not be let go. Whitebeard squeezed Kong Yunchi tightly. Ron was really cruel. At this moment, Ron's gaze also turned towards Whitebeard. He rushed towards Ron. Shock fruit has covered the Kongyun slice. Even he was surprised by Ron's behavior. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. After a while, in any case, Ron hit his Admiral hard, which is a rare opportunity for Whitebeard. The air between the two seemed to freeze. The eyes of the two intertwined in the air. On this critical occasion, beat his teammates, has fallen into a short period of stagnation. Whitebeard's eyes narrowed. Moreover, this guy unexpectedly used the fighting power like the daytime. Chapter 120, auto-generated chapter title. 120. King vs. King, the battle that determines the outcome of the battlefield. Seeking subscription. Now, Kizaru finally crawled out of the pit. I moved my muscles and bones a bit. I just feel pain all over my body. Deliver, Ron, how did Admiral attack me? How do you feel that he doesn't use haki? Kizaru's clothes were soiled for the first time. This is the only time since he has experienced all the battles. It's a pity that it's not the enemy who made it dirty, but it's our own people. Kizaru patted the dust on his body, walked out slowly from the pit. Unexpectedly, I ran into Aokiji and Akainu when I came out. The two guys looked at themselves with a playful expression. Kizaru shook his head speechlessly. Unexpectedly, he was also cleaned up by Ron. Kizaru was grateful that he hadn't played against Ron before. 7-4-0s, and Akainu and Aokiji had already suffered a big loss on the first day Ron came. Kizaru kept taunting them both. Never expected. Today it was my turn. Aokiji said angrily. How? This time you have personally felt Ron's attack power, right? Don't say that my eyes can't be released this time? Looking at Aokiji's expression, Kizaru smiled awkwardly. And Akainu is much more straightforward. HMPH, although I am very dissatisfied with Ron, but I have to admit that he played too well this time. I wanted to beat you too. You know, fish and water, people like you. I really disdain to be a Marine Admiral with you. Kizaru didn't care what Akainu said. She has a thick skin and is said to be used to it. Just got up and moved my muscles and bones a bit. Then he turned his head and looked in the direction of Ron and Whitebeard. I couldn't help but took a breath and said, have it finally started? The king of both sides is the king. Kizaru felt the horror of this man after receiving Ron's blow personally. Aokiji nodded. This is an exceptionally exciting battle. Advertisement, Whitebeard in this state is not so easily defeated. Although it's only a momentary feeling, I think Ron Admiral at this moment is far from strong at noon. Aokiji knew Ron's oppression too well. As early as the first day Ron came here, his ice abilities could not be released in front of Ron. That horrible sense of oppression, the scorching heat brought by it. Let his frozen fruit lose all its functions, but now. Although Ron is still so strong, but I always feel that it is not as strong as it is at noon. The oppression it brings is far from enough. This makes Aokiji a little worried. Could it be Ron really can't exert his strongest strength at night? This is how to do. This force is okay against ordinary 4 emperors. But against Whitebeard, a one-piece combat power. I am afraid, this is what Aokiji is worried about. After all, Whitebeard has now returned to its peak combat effectiveness. Far beyond the ordinary 4 emperors, and Ron couldn't use his strongest power. This rise and fall, it really brought the strength of the two people very close. Akainu was also silent. Obviously, he could see it too. As the first player to play against Ron, Sakazuki can clearly feel the change in Ron's strength. Ron at this moment, no matter his appearance or his aura, is not much different from the daytime. But, only their level can clearly sense the subtle differences. It can be judged from the sense of oppression that Ron brings to them now. Ron's strength is too far from that at noon. It seems that although Ron can exert his daytime power at night, there are still certain limitations. Looking at Whitebeard at this moment, he found that he was at his peak with a ferocious aura. This made Shingshong and Akainu worried. Aokiji glanced at the night sky. At this moment, it was in the early morning. Although I know it's unlikely, but Aokiji couldn't help but said. If the sun comes out now, it will be fine. Akainu also nodded rarely. Although it is reluctant, but he said in agreement. Advertisement, indeed, if it is noon, we don't have to worry about anything. In the middle of the battlefield, Whitebeard held the cloud cut. He stared at Ron tightly. I saw that a white halo visible to the naked eye immediately appeared from the cloud cut. It is the ability of shock fruit. I saw Whitebeard slash into the void hard. The entire space split instantly, countless fine lines visible to the naked eye. Shatter the entire space, and it has been spreading towards Ron's place. Any building that touches and spreads to the fine lines will collapse. Even the earth is no exception. Start with Whitebeard. The entire ground is like an earthquake, with huge cracks spreading forward. With Whitebeard's cut, both the space and the ground are cracked. And, all cracked in Ron's direction, Daddy attacked. Feel Daddy's shock fruit. Let Ron experience the strongest Paramecia devil fruit and the strongest attack. This battle, both Marine and the Pirates stopped their attacks. Focus all eyes on the two of them, because they know. The battle of these two people determines the direction of victory in the entire battle. If Ron wins, then Marine wins. If Whitebeard won, So today Whitebeard will take away Ace without any loss of 5.2. This means that Marine lost. So, as long as it is the king of the two parties, then, the battle of these soldiers is meaningless. Both sides know this. That's why I chose to stop at this moment and focus all my eyes on Ron and Whitebeard. Marco, Diamond Joes, Foil Betas, and almost all the captains, all stared at Whitebeard's blow. And the rest of the Kaido pirates, who were desperate on the side, also hoped that Whitebeard would avenge them and kill the Ron who killed their captain. Chapter 121. Auto-generated chapter title, 121. Whitebeard made a full blow and only cut through Ron's skin? The power of shock fruit is indeed great, only Whitebeard swung the knife so hard. In an instant, a strong seismic wave rushed directly to Ron's face door. The space is shattered, the cracks visible to the naked eye concentrated in Ron's direction and spread. There are even noises caused by the fragmentation of space. It sounds so harsh, it makes people shudder, broken. Spread all the way, there is no good ground between the two. The violent vibration hit Ron directly. In an instant, the entire area under Ron's feet split instantly. Sand and rocks flew around the whole ground, and squally winds rolled around. The huge impact spread to the surroundings, centered on Ron. The ground around 200 meters was instantly broken into pieces. The impact generated, let the people around you be blown away directly. Even Vice Admiral can barely maintain it from being knocked off by the aftermath. A huge dust was blown up from the broken ground. A long gully slid under Ron's feet. It took a full 10 meters to stop. The one who can knock Ron back 10 meters in one blow. The entire One Piece world, Whitebeard is still the first. Look at Ron's feet, there is no place intact at this moment. 1 to several hundred meters deep gully. To Whitebeard 14 as a starting point, through Ron. Bottomless. This is the power of the world's strongest man. This is the strongest Paramecia devil fruit. This is the peak period Whitebeard casual blow. Phoenix all Whitebeard Pirates crew Marco, Diamonds Jors and so on. At the moment are very excited, that invincible father back. The blow, asked Ron can play live. At the moment, Ron's location. Flying sand, dust everywhere. A dense fog, could not see what happened in the end. Until surge breeze. Dust all around the blow open. Ron figure finally appeared. Surprising yes, this man just took such a heavy blow. Just slide back more than 10 meters only, who actually is no wound. Advertisement but also face very lightly, really it's a hint of pain. Ron rubbed his face. Indeed shock fruit, can cause severe vibration, such attacks on his body to be effective. It seems the power of nature cannot be really small view. What? How is it possible? This guy is just back a dozen all. Bit by the injury did not suffer. It seems that this guy is also a monster if he can handle the blow of the old man in this state. It's not that Marco and Diamond George looked at each other and said, "No, Dad didn't take it seriously. The blow just now was just a test." Papa wants to know if Ron is weaker compared to daytime? Marco continued. At this moment, Sengoku and Garp also glanced at each other. They were surprised that Ron had stepped back. This is the first time this has happened. If it was Ron at noon during the day, he would definitely not step back a centimeter. This is enough to explain. In the early hours of the night, Ron's strength was indeed much weaker than that of the day. How can this be good? It would be great if there was a round of sun in the sky at this time. But how is this possible? After all, it is early in the morning, and there is no sun in the early morning. This is too whimsical. Goo la 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 la, it seems that, you kid is not invincible, either. There must be some limit to using this power in the night, right? It feels like you are not as strong in the daytime. Whitebeard said in a deep voice. With his level of strength, it can naturally be seen. Ron was able to use this power at night, he must have summoned forcibly. Certainly not able to play the strength of the day. But, this made Whitebeard feel lucky, but fortunately they launched a raid at night. Why, you don't think you have won? Ron waved his hand. A whirlwind was generated, blowing away all the surrounding sand and rocks. Watching Whitebeard speak. Wow, la la la, how is it possible? It was just an appetizer just now. I just want to try it. What level of strength are you at now? Whitebeard was telling the truth. He wants to know whether Ben Beckman's intelligence is accurate. It seems that it is indeed very accurate, then is the highlight. Whitebeard's eyes became sharp again, then Kong Yun cut and rushed towards Ron with the supreme sharp knife. The blow just now has fully tested Ron's strength. Now, Whitebeard can safely attack. Ron is not invincible, he will back down. This gave Whitebeard great confidence. Ron at night was not as strong as he thought. Advertisement. The next step is a full blow. End this battle. Whitebeard entangled all Conqueror's haki. Kong Yun cut it with a big knife. The red and black Conquerors entangled with each other like layers of smoke. Whitebeard galloped forward. Ron just stood there still. This guy, as I expected, he never dodges no matter what kind of attack he faces. The reason why Whitebeard dared to rush forward so unscrupulously. It's because he watched most of Ron's fight, to draw a conclusion. That is, no matter what kind of attack the opponent uses. Ron never hides. I haven't escaped it even once. They all received the opponent's attack from the front. Whitebeard came prepared. Even if he himself has recovered his peak state, he still goes all out to any enemy. Especially for someone like Ron who can kill an ant so easily. Whitebeard studied carefully that Ron and Ant wanted to fight. Ron's attacking 740 attack method has been figured out. And Ron's combat characteristics. Then, Whitebeard can conclude with certainty. This own attack, Ron will never avoid it, since I will not avoid it. Then go to hell. My attack is different from those people. Whitebeard is very confident in his attack power. The strongest man is not for nothing, as Whitebeard charged more and more. When he was 50 meters away from Ron, he took a leap. Jumped over 10 meters high. In midair, both hands held the supreme sharp knife and cut from the cloud. Conqueror's haki lingers on it. This is Conqueror's highest level of application skills. Only a very small number of strong people can be the master. Whitebeard is like a slam dunk, start to jump from 50 meters. Hold the knife in both hands, use all your strength. Directly up and down, facing Ron's shoulder, just chopped it down. Ron really didn't hide, dodgy Whitebeard is still so arrogant, it suits me well. In this case, let him regret this arrogance, boom. Whitebeard slashed Ron's shoulder with a big knife. Chapter 122, auto-generated chapter title, 122, failed to penetrate the enemy's armor, who said Ron was weak at night. This terrifying momentum, even this far from Whitebeard. I can also feel it, as if he was hacking at me, that sense of oppression. It's like a mountain smashing on itself, it's suffocating. The decisive battle between the two had already gathered the eyes of everyone around. And Whitebeard's blow, it affects everyone's hearts. Especially the Whitebeard Pirates. As the saying goes, it must be done in one battle. The Whitebeard stop almost overwhelmed the life and death of everyone in the pirate group. Win or lose. What matters is the life of the entire Whitebeard ship group. Marco couldn't help getting nervous. It's impossible for the old man to be able to stop this cut. I have never seen an old man make such a strong blow. Even when he was fighting against One Piece Roger, Dad didn't use such a strong attack. Right, George. Mal Kegwang stared at the center of the battlefield closely, and said to George behind him without looking back. Diamond George nodded sharply, clenched his fists. Shen Sheng said, "Indeed, this is also the strongest attack I have ever seen Dad use. Just the released haki makes me breathless, Daddy is so strong. Ron can't stop it. With this cut, I am afraid that Ron will be chopped in half." Foil Beasta took a deep breath, the same is done with a knife. The gap between himself and his father is really like a child and an adult. It was a sense of powerlessness that was out of reach. But fortunately, this person who is better than himself is the old man. This also makes Foil Beasta willingly, so it's impossible for my strength to accept the father's level directly. I'm afraid it will be divided into two together with a person with a knife. And these 6 volleys of Beast's pirates, they watched the attack they didn't know at the moment. He also showed a look of astonishment, can't help but sigh secretly. This old guy is even better than his own captain. Kaido is enough pervert. But through Whitebeard's attack just now, the 6 volleys almost reached a consensus. The power of this blow alone has surpassed Kaido by too much. The two are not at the same level. No wonder everyone says that Whitebeard is the strongest man in the world. It seems to make sense. Advertisement their boss Kaido is not Whitebeard's opponent at all. When I think of my boss is dead, the 6 volleys and the rest of the Kaido pirates clearly knew that they had no way to deal with Ron. They could only rely on Whitebeard for revenge. In other words, they are now grasshoppers on the same rope as Whitebeard. They certainly hope that Whitebeard will win, and Marine here. They also thought to themselves whether they could hold Whitebeard's blow if they changed it to himself. The first is Sengoku. Seeing Whitebeard's slash that jumped up, I couldn't help but secretly startled. This time, if you hit yourself, I'm afraid he can't help it. Sengoku didn't dare to make it hard, he didn't ask such a hardcore, just stood there, abruptly preparing to take it. Sengoku would definitely choose to avoid this attack in the first place. Garp frowned. If you change to when you were young. Can it be blocked? Perhaps it was possible, or perhaps it was impossible, because the power of Whitebeard's explosion this time even surpassed that of One Piece Roger. Think that when he was against Roger, Roger did not explode such a powerful blow. Akainu frowned, responding to Ron's words to him in his mind. You are still far away. Sure enough, Akainu found that he was really far behind. Whether it was dealing with Kaido or dealing with the ant, Akainu felt that his winning percentage was half and half. But I only saw Whitebeard in front of me. Akainu didn't have any confidence to defeat him at all. Whitebeard, at the peak of his combat power, was really terrifying. It has surpassed the 4 emperors and is the height that One Piece can only reach. Aokiji on the side was worried about Ron. I don't know if this knife is cut down, can Ron be able to prevent it? After all, it is night now, and Ron's strength is obviously not as good as that of the day. If it was Ron during the day, Aokiji wouldn't be very worried. But it happened to be dark now, there is no sun. Ron's strength must have dropped a lot. Kizaru was still a little unhappy because Ron took the meal just now. But even so, he also hopes Ron will win. After all, if Ron loses, then the 3 of them, Admiral, will face Whitebeard. That will become very troublesome again. This really doesn't fit Kizaru's fish-catching character. Of course Luffy was dumbfounded watching from the side. This guy who had never seen the world saw such a terrifying attack for the first time. My heart was shocked. Is this the highest point of the pirate? Luffy felt that if he changed to himself, he would probably die with this knife. There is no suspense at all. Regarding this, Luffy is quite self-aware. As a representative of the Revolutionary Army, Ivankov certainly hopes to use Whitebeard's hand to kill this Revolutionary Army's greatest enemy. Advertisement. This is also the little calculation that Ron made after discovering him here. So he definitely hopes Whitebeard can win. Even his plan after losing Whitebeard was already planned. If this hit, Whitebeard lost, then he will immediately go over to contact Whitebeard and seek cooperation with him. Use your Devil Fruit ability to give Whitebeard adrenaline. Let Whitebeard explode at a constant multiple. By that time, the same will turn defeat into victory. As long as Ron can be killed here, then his return to the Revolutionary Army is a great achievement. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Whitebeard's knife. They have their own ideas in their respective hearts. Whitebeard's long knife is getting faster and faster in the air. Boom! Finally, this is enough to make a breakthrough. Carrying the monstrous haki, a crimson trajectory was drawn in the air. It slashed sharply on Ron's shoulder. There was a boom. The whole earth trembled twice. The ground standing under Ron's feet fell apart. The hard ground is spread with fine lines, spreading thousands of meters around. The whole earth is divided into two. The aftermath of slashing Ron's body directly destroyed all the surrounding buildings. All buildings. The numerous buildings in Marin collapsed in an instant. The surrounding warships all turned into the Jiao Mahao Sea. There was a huge wave. It spreads around and becomes a high wall of hundreds of meters. Even Marco and others couldn't help but block their eyes. Countless broken stones, bounced away by the shock. Like a bullet, it ejects toward the surroundings. Pile snaps. Many Marines and pirates who couldn't dodge were all seriously injured by the stone. However, when everything is at peace, everyone looked intently. But I was surprised to find Whitebeard's eyes froze in amazement. Follow Whitebeard's gaze. Only then did I realize that the knife had really been cut on Ron's shoulder. But this is the strongest cut made by Whitebeard in his life. It only cut Ron's skin, and this supreme sharp knife. I can't move down anymore. Chapter 123, Auto-generated chapter title. 123, Whitebeard's Last Hope, Adrenaline Injection. The audience was silent. On the noisy battlefield, no one spoke at this moment. They were all shocked by the scene before them and couldn't speak. This is really incredible. As a result of this stab, they thought of countless kinds of things in their minds. Whether it was to cut Ron into pieces or to be avoided by Ron. In short, they have thought about various scenes. But the only thing I didn't expect was this scene. How could it be impossible to think of such a heavy knife? Ron's shoulder was only torn a little. There was a wound less than a centimeter deep. Who can believe this? This can no longer be described as an exaggeration. The entire Whitebeard pirate group hated it. What kind of image does the old man have in their hearts? That is the existence of invincibility? How could such a full blow? It only caused so much damage to Ron. This is simply unacceptable. Marco collapsed. You must know that they are trying to enhance the strength of Whitebeard's father as much as possible. But many methods were used. 6 top doctors were recruited from all over the world to first heal the injuries in Whitebeard's body. Immediately afterwards, he snatched the regressive aim from the former Admiral Zephyr. Used Whitebeard's ability to step back 30 years. This allowed Whitebeard to possess the current peak strength. All the purposes of doing this, 743 just allow Whitebeard to compete against Ron. Because Sengoku is too strong to find this foreign aid, relying on conventional means will no longer be his opponent. This made the Whitebeard pirate group compelled to use this method. They thought they had prepared well. The strength of Whitebeard has been brought to ultimate. It would be no problem to deal with that Ron, and just to be on the safe side. They also deliberately picked at 12 o'clock in the morning to attack Marin. This is the night in the night. Even today there is no moon. There was no light in the entire sky. All that is done is to strengthen the strength of one side and weaken the strength of the other side. Why? Why are they so ultimate? He went down with a heavy knife, but only slashed Ron's skin. How can this be? Marco really broke down. All hopes are now collapsed. Advertisement. He was definitely the strongest attack from his father just now. If this can't kill Ron, that proves that Daddy is far from Ron's opponent. What's more, Ron didn't hide. Just standing there without moving, even armament haki was useless, and physically defended the father's attack, BEFC. And, let's not talk about Dad's haki and fruit ability. This Kong Yun cut alone is also a supreme sharp knife. No matter how you say it, you can't just cut the opponent's skin. This moment, Marco finally realized the helplessness of the ant pirates. Maybe the ants' children at that time. When I saw the ant being suppressed, it was the same mentality. The kind of despair that comes from the bottom of my heart. This invincible dazedness. The powerlessness caused by this gap. Marco now has a deep understanding. The morale of the entire Whitebeard pirate group suddenly depressed. Even some people have already begun to give up. In the middle of the battlefield, Whitebeard's knife was still resting on Ron's shoulder. Diamond George took a deep breath and said, Daddy's slash, even if it is a diamond physique, I will cut it off on the spot. Ron's body is harder than a diamond. Marco, what should we do now? Is there any other way you can take it out quickly, or it's too late? Marco has always been good at making suggestions in the Whitebeard Pirates. So, Diamond George asked that. There have been many desperate situations before, and it was Marco's advice to reverse the situation. This time, Marco will definitely have a way. Marco shook his head helplessly.
What else can he do? This power gap has exceeded the point where it can be resolved by making plans.
The difference is too big, right? What a monster is this? Marco has thought of all the ways he can think of now, he really has no way at all. He didn't even have the courage to go desperately.
Is there any way to kill this monster? Not even the daddy in his prime.
What can he do with Marco? Facing Diamond George's question, Marco could only helplessly shook his head. I can't do anything about it. It's dead, unless Daddy Whitebeard's strength can break through again. It becomes, twice now, no, at least 3 times more.
Only in this way can we turn a loss into a victory.
Advertisement, achieving a big reversal, but isn't this a foolish dream? How is it possible? Marco shook his head, wondering why such a weird thought came into his mind. It's so whimsical. Diamond George also thinks Marco is joking. How can it be possible that the strength for no reason will be doubled? Too exaggerated. Foil beat us as a swordsman. He clearly understood how great the old man was just now. She understands better how powerful it is to be able to hold the broken-skinned Ron of the old man. This world is crazy. You know, the Whitebeard Pirate Group has always been known as the strongest pirate group.
Of the people on this ship, which one is not well informed, which one has not experienced hundreds of battles, large and small?
Nothing can destroy their beliefs, except for this scene. At this moment, they really don't have the courage to fight. This is not a battle on a single dimension at all. Whitebeard looked at Ron in astonishment. My heart was shocked. He thought he was relying on his peak state. There's no problem with Ron in the dark state. But he still thought wrong, even if the opponent is weaker. It can be stronger than himself, but Whitebeard felt it was a little bit worse. As long as his attack power is as strong as 20%, the attack just now can kill Ron. Ron had indeed become weaker. Whitebeard knew very well that if Ron was in the daytime state, he would go down with this cut and Ron would not even break his skin. But now, he broke Ron's defense, and Ron was bleeding. This means, Ron did weaken at night. Unfortunately, his attack power is just a little bit worse. Just need to be a little stronger, he could break through Ron's defense. Kill Ron in the night. Whitebeard shook his head helplessly. Also know that he is wishful thinking. How could one's own strength be improved for no reason? And at the moment, Ivankov, who was not far away, witnessed an unbelievable moment with his own eyes. He was astonished for a moment, and finally healed. You can fight. Ron is not invincible. I just need to increase Whitebeard's strength. Just inject him a lot of adrenaline. Whitebeard has a high chance to kill Ron. As long as Luo can be eliminated with the help of Whitebeard, then the Revolutionary Army will have no more enemies. Chapter 124. Auto-generated chapter title. 124. Ron. Now, it's my turn to attack, seeking subscription. Compared to the Whitebeard Pirates, the mood is down. The whole marine is in high spirits, it's soaring to the peak. When they saw Whitebeard's full blow, it only hurt Ron Admiral a little bit of fur. Could not help all cheering. Originally Ron's prestige in Marine has been getting higher and higher. After this time, soaring to the extreme again, now these Marines really regard Ron as a hero. It is Marine's faith. Although Ron is not Marine at all, he is just an army admiral. But this did not delay these Marines from taking him as a faith. After all, he is a man who can withstand Whitebeard's full blow. Moreover, without any haki defense, the opponent's supreme sword was smashed by the physical body alone. This is no longer a description of horror, it's simply pervert. But they like it. Ron Admiral is amazing. Ron Admiral, kill Whitebeard. Suddenly the crowd cheered. As if victory was about to come. This feeling is really cool. Even Sengoku looked at these Marine soldiers with a celebratory look. This can't help but feel it. Ron's prestige has reached a point where it can be added. I'm afraid now Ron gives an order, these Marine soldiers will follow Ron through the fire. Seeing that there is no Sengoku, I said, Ron's strength can still be used. Garp came to Sengoku and said. Sengoku nodded, even though he didn't believe Ron would be so strong just now. Because he could feel that Ron's strength had indeed dropped a lot at night. But who would have thought that even though it has dropped so much, it is still so strong. It was so strong that even Whitebeard couldn't hurt Ron seriously with a full blow. What an exaggeration this is. No wonder Ron can still kill Kaido after he gets weaker. He became weaker, only weaker relative to himself, but for the enemy, there really is no weakening at all. Kaido is not his opponent, and he should be. Sengoku took a deep breath and said. Garp nodded. What you said makes sense. The people of Whitebeard thought that Ron was the weakest at this time, and they thought it was ridiculous that they could defeat Ron like this. Advertisement: the two most important Marines at the moment are talking here. Now the mood of the two people is completely relaxed. Because the battle is set, the Whitebeard Pirates can't overcome any big waves anymore. As the core figure of their regiment, there was no way to get rid of Ron. The contrast between strengths is too sharp. According to the current situation, the Whitebeard Pirates has no hope of victory at all. You are still the only one who cut me with a knife. I have to say the strongest man, this title is really not for nothing, you are qualified. Ron affirmed Whitebeard's strength. I saw him gently grabbing the knife that Whitebeard wanted to put on his shoulder. Then Whitebeard felt a huge force coming. Even if he held the handle of the knife with both hands, he couldn't press Ron's hand. And Ron was removing his knife from his shoulder little by little. Facing Ron's words, Whitebeard didn't know what to say anymore. Unexpectedly, a junior so much younger than him, even talking to him in this tone. As if he was a junior, he was being taught by Ron. It's ridiculous, but Whitebeard could not refute it. Because starting from strength, what the other party said makes sense. He does have this qualification, how do you evaluate it? I can't be happy to hear you, Whitebeard frowned. Now it's my turn to attack. Ron stared at Whitebeard and said flatly. Although there is no emotion in this sentence, but Whitebeard only felt cold behind his back. I saw Ron stretch out a hand. A huge fiery ball of fire appeared out of thin air in his hand. A wave of heat radiated to the surroundings. Whitebeard couldn't help frowning. He has seen this trick many times. The ant has fully shown him how powerful this trick is. Even the monster-like steel balloon body cannot withstand this kind of temperature. A drop of sweat was left on Whitebeard's forehead. He won't catch it all. All the attention right now is focused on Ron's fireball. After all, Whitebeard's 2nd Division captain is Ace. He is considered to be very familiar with flame attacks. But compared to Ace, the temperature of this fireball is much higher. Advertisement seeking flowers. The merciless sun. Ron didn't talk nonsense and slammed the fireball directly at Whitebeard. The blazing heat hit Whitebeard directly. Whitebeard didn't hesitate either. Fists clenched. The muscles on the entire arm burst into bruises. Afterwards, Whitebeard slammed into the air forcefully. The huge shock wave directly hit the fireball, stalemate in midair. I have to say that there are still 2 sets of the strongest men. If this were replaced by ordinary people, it would have been swallowed by a fireball. But Whitebeard relied on the force of the earthquake to temporarily hold the fireball. Broken. Under the shockwave, the fireball finally exploded in midair. The sky full of flames was released in an instant. Whitebeard couldn't help taking a few steps back from the shockwave's tolerance. Fortunately, he was not seriously injured under this round of attacks. Ron shook his head lightly. The strength is indeed much weaker. It seems necessary to summon the sun, just use the sun in your heart. In fact, the desired effect is still not achieved. At noon when the real sun was hanging in the sky, Ron's ability to play now was greatly reduced. Whitebeard retreated for a long time with the impact just now. Finally distanced himself from Ron, just as Whitebeard was preparing to launch another large-scale earthquake attack. Ivankov came to Whitebeard immediately. At first, Whitebeard had some surprises. Until Ivankov whispered a word next to him, Whitebeard immediately fell into contemplation. After he glanced at Ron, he finally nodded firmly. It seems to have made up his mind. Whitebeard knows very well. In his current state, he is definitely not Ron's opponent. To deal with Ron, the peak state is not enough, but the difference is not very far. Although his knife didn't hit Ron hard just now, but it also cut him. In other words, his strength is enough to break Ron's defense. Make yourself stronger through adrenaline. With 2 or 3 times the strength, Ron who wants to beat the knight is still very promising. Chapter 125. Auto-generated chapter title, 125. Whitebeard with the highest dose of adrenaline, the devil comes. Father, Ace yelled from the execution stage at the moment. Sure enough, as he expected, even if the old man became the peak state when he was young, he was not Ron's opponent. This, Ace, who watched Ron and Kaido fight with his own eyes, had already anticipated this in his heart. Seeing that the old man was repelled by Ron, Dad's full blow only cut Ron a bit of skin. Ace's roar became extremely loud. It is so big that even the entire chaotic battlefield can be heard by everyone. Now, the Whitebeard Pirates also heard Ace's cry. Whitebeard, who was discussing with Ivankov, can't help but look up at Ace. Ace, don't worry, I'll save you in a while. Ace also heard Whitebeard's call. Ace shook his head sharply, then he mustered his strength and shouted loudly. Old, 73. Father, you leave with Luffy, you are not Ron's opponent. This guy is not merciful to the pirate at all. I'll be dead if caught by him. I saw Ron and Kaido fight with my own eyes, and they fell. Ace's shout made Whitebeard frown. It seemed that Garp didn't even intervene in that battle. This guy Ron can also explode with this kind of offensive power at night. Although it is weaker than during the day, but it was enough to kill Kaido. No wonder if he went down with this knife, the other party only cut a small wound. Marco immediately said in a hurry, Ace, we will definitely save you. Luffy also growled. Ace saw Kizaru being kicked by Ron for releasing the water. It seems that this Ron doesn't even give Garp's face. Now Luffy is even more dangerous here. Luffy, hurry up and leave with Daddy and them. This strengthened Whitebeard's idea. He had moved far enough away from Ron. Ron didn't chase him. I saw Whitebeard say to Ivankov. Are you sure your adrenaline can increase my combat effectiveness? Advertisement. Ivankov nodded and said, rest assured, hey, his role is to stimulate your potential, at least 3 times. Whitebeard was silent for a few seconds, then asked again. So, what are its side effects? It is impossible to get energy for no reason without side effects. Whitebeard, who has been crossing the ocean for decades, couldn't be more clear. Ivankov did not hide it, but said directly, the price is life, at least 10 years of life. Lifespan of 10 years? At this point, Whitebeard is not surprised. And she guessed it, it must be something like lifespan, but he didn't expect it to be 10 years. But for him, the pirate of the last era, things like life, long before they lost their brilliance, they no longer existed. After all, it is the remnant party of the old age. The new era has no ship to carry him, so Whitebeard said. Then what is your purpose? Whitebeard was very skeptical of this sudden step up to help himself. It is impossible for anyone to come and help him for no reason. This guy must have some purpose. A 10-year lifespan is acceptable to Whitebeard, but if this guy has any purpose to harm his family, then Whitebeard is absolutely unacceptable, so he asked straightforwardly. He didn't expect that Ivankov didn't hide it at all. Instead, he spoke directly about his purpose. The guy opposite, he is Army Admiral Ron. And I am a senior cadre of the Revolutionary Army, Ivankov. That guy is the #1 enemy of our Revolutionary Army. In just 2 months, our revolutionary suggested that 2 army captains died under him. Almost lost the entire Western Front, so it is important to us without him. And now is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I need to use your power to kill Ron, and at the same time, you also need to use my power to kill Ron. How about, Whitebeard, let's work together. Whitebeard didn't expect Ivankov to be so frank. There is no concealment of the purpose of mutual use. This made Whitebeard couldn't help but take a closer look at Ivankov. If Ivankov lied just now, Whitebeard didn't mind killing him first. After all, if you don't know the purpose of the other party and accept the cooperation of the other party, then it may be a trap. But the other party is so blunt, and it makes sense. Then Whitebeard had no reason to refuse, because he also needs this power. Come and get rid of this Ron. Advertisement with his current strength, he can only break through Ron's defense. If it is really as Ivankov said, it can increase combat effectiveness by more than 3 times. So, Whitebeard is sure to kill Ron in the night. One ebb and flow. And if one's own strength is increased by more than 3 times, what kind of scene will this be like? Whitebeard couldn't even estimate. I am afraid that shock fruit can easily sink many marlins into the sea with one punch. Good. Then I agree to cooperate with you. Let's start. Whitebeard was decisive. There is any muddle-headedness. Staring at Ron, speaking directly to Ivankov next to him. He wants to see, he who has gained more than 3 cups of power, how can that Ron boy resist? Would he still dare to stand there and take a shot? Ivankov heard that, a smile appeared. It seems that the outcome is certain. As he expected, Whitebeard agreed to his proposal and cooperation. So today, you can use the hands of this strongest man to eliminate the #1 enemy of the Revolutionary Army, Army Admiral Ron. As long as Ron died, the army would be nothing. The army will no longer be an opponent of the Revolutionary Army. Ivankov stretched out a hand, 5 needles, and 5.2 from the nail. Then he looked at Whitebeard and asked, what's the dose? Depending on the dosage of the adrenal glands, the potential to stimulate a person is also different. At the same time, the side effects will be different. The greater the dose, the stronger the stimulation, but the greater the side effects. Whitebeard looked ahead. He just wanted to kill Ron now. Even wanted to destroy the entire Marineford. As for the dosage? Maximum. Whitebeard said 2 words in a deep voice. Ivankov took a deep breath. He knew very well that he was about to create a devil with his own hands. Whitebeard, the pinnacle of the maximum dose of adrenaline. Who is the enemy in this world? Chapter 126, Auto-generated chapter title. 126. Confidence Shanks. They will give me face. The weird behavior of Whitebeard certainly attracted the attention of Sengoku and others. Sengoku couldn't help frowning, said to Garp and Cranestaff beside him. How does the old man feel that something is wrong over there? What are they discussing? The old man has a bad feeling. Whitebeard was too far away from them, so I couldn't hear what they were talking about. But judging from their expressions, it's not a good thing anyway. Garp also shook his head. How'd I think that guy is so familiar? Sengoku said angrily, you still have the face to say. Don't you know him? He is Ivankov, a senior cadre of the Revolutionary Army? It's the son of that troublesome son. Your family is really enough to mess with Marine. Sengoku gave Garp a wide glance. This family is really a headache. Garp touched the back of his head when he remembered. It turned out to be a member of the Revolutionary Army. When it comes to this son, Garp feels a little speechless. It turned out to be him. Isn't he imprisoned in the underwater prison? I remember the news that he had escaped from prison before 14 years ago. Sengoku nodded and said, yes, Ivankov, this guy. He disappeared in prison a year ago and he can't be found. I thought he had already escaped from prison, but now it doesn't seem to be the case. He should have been hidden somewhere in the prison. Because of this turmoil, he ran out. Staff Crane said, the Revolutionary Army and Whitebeard have no intersection. Why didn't he take the opportunity to escape, and instead come to chat with Whitebeard? If something goes wrong, there must be a demon. This guy must have some unfavorable plan for us. Sengoku glanced at the Suru staff and said in agreement. Yes, I think so too. Ron has the advantage now. He is strong enough to deal with the current Whitebeard, but it is early morning after all, it's dark. Ron, he can't exert his strongest strength. I'm afraid there will be changes in the middle. Sengoku's worries are not unreasonable. In the current situation, although Ron has the advantage, it is not the absolute advantage of facing an ant during the day. Advertisement, you know, the ant in the day can't break Ron's defense anyway. During the day, Ron dealt with all the members of the ant pirates alone, without any injuries. But now, Whitebeard had cut a wound open for Ron. It was enough to see how weak the night was for Ron. And at the moment, in a sea area that is not very far from Marin, a pirate ship is hurriedly rushing towards Ma Lin. This pirate ship is the pirate ship of 4 Emperors Shanks. The pirate ship travels very fast, looks very anxious. Shanks sat on the bow, frowning, staring intently at the front. Ben Beckman stood beside him and said, I didn't expect that Whitebeard would choose to raid Marlene at night. This makes our time even more urgent, I hope we can catch up this time. Shanks sighed. I didn't expect them to be so impulsive. There are many attacks on Marine at night. Although it is the best strategy, I always have a bad feeling. Usopp came over and said, looking at the brightly lit island ahead, it should be Marineford. I don't know what happened to you at this time. I don't know if we can stop it in time. Master Fatty also came over and said, Boss, why must I come to stop this battle? If Whitebeard dies, wouldn't it be better for us? Shanks hasn't spoken yet. Ben Beckman looked at the fat chef like a fool and said in a deep voice. What do you know? Now the balance of the 4 emperors has been broken. According to the current intelligence, the Ant is dead, this is certain, and the Ant's pirate group is almost completely wiped out. Those forces under the Ants are now fighting one after another, vying for the Ant's territory. This is just what happened during the day. As soon as the Ant died, the whole new world was in turmoil. It's hard to think of what will happen in the future. And according to my guess, there should be more than 4 emperors dead now. Advertisement. This statement came out. Both Usopp and the fat chef came to the spirit. He calmly asked, what do you mean by this? Are there other 4 emperors dead? Impossible, except for us, Kaido and Whitebeard are the only ones left. If Whitebeard dies, it means that Marine has won the war, but we have not received news of Marine's victory. In other words, Whitebeard hasn't died yet, and Kaido is the one who died, isn't it? Usopp and the fat chef looked at each other in surprise. Even they themselves don't believe their inferences. Ben Beckman nodded and said, yes, there are too many deaths. Although this is my inference, Kaido has a high probability of death. At present, news of Kaido's death has not been heard from the headquarters. Ben Beckman has already deduced it. It can be seen that this man is worthy of being the most powerful brain. Shanks stood up and said, Shanks looked sad, suddenly said confidently. Facing the sea breeze, watching the many marlins getting closer and closer. Usopp nodded heavily. He would not tolerate the existence of the only 4 emperors at all, and he would definitely attack it directly. When Kaido dies, the entire underground weapons trading field will be in turmoil. 743, and the 4 emperors are left with me and Whitebeard. 3 more, sure enough, as Ben Beckman said, Kaido is dead. Then there are only 2 4 emperors left. Originally, the 4 emperors happened to compete with the Kaijun. Shanks said this very calmly. If we don't stop this battle, who do you think will be next when Whitebeard is also killed by Marine? If there is only 4 emperors left in this world, will Marine still be afraid of them? It can be said that the corner of the 4 emperors that maintains the balance of the world has collapsed. Boss, I understand, so we must prevent Whitebeard from being killed by Marine. This is also a disguised way to avoid cold lips and teeth. But Usopp and the fat chef got cold back. Chapter 127, Auto-generated chapter title. 127. Ron's calculation, use Whitebeard to directly fill the template. Father, don't do this, it's very harmful to your body. When Marco learned of the plan of the old man and the ladyboy King Ivankov, he immediately stopped. Whitebeard did say, this Ron must be killed today. Otherwise, even if Ace is rescued, it won't help. As long as this Ron is alive for one day, this matter will never end. We all can't escape his palm. Goo la 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 la. Whitebeard said boldly. Come on, Ivankov, let me see the methods of your revolutionary army. He did not continue to talk to Marco, but directly addressed the ladyboy king. Marco also thinks what old Whitebeard said makes sense.
He shook his head and said nothing. The S******** king is already ready.
Seeing Whitebeard talking, he nodded and smiled. Haha, the maximum dose, don't you die. As soon as the voice fell, he directly inserted his hand into Whitebeard's abdomen. A puff of adrenaline poured into Whitebeard from Ivankov's palm. The S******* king was not sure how much Whitebeard could bear. It just keeps delivering to the inside. Sengoku and Garp were shocked when they saw this scene. Before, they were still guessing what the 2 men were discussing. Until this moment, I have seen it with my own eyes. The 2 recognized them. Not good, it turns out they were planning this. I just said that I had a bad hunch just now, and it really has come true now. Sengoku frowned. The bad premonition in my heart became more and more obvious. He knew very well the abilities of the ladyboy King Ivankov. It is also very clear, what is he doing now? This guy didn't expect to collude with Whitebeard. Garp said in a deep voice, it's not good, you must stop him immediately. If Whitebeard really gets an adrenaline injection, then we're done. This Whitebeard is already very difficult to deal with now, and it can break through Ron's defense. If it really makes him stronger by several times, the consequences will be disastrous. Staff Crane. Why is that guy Ron still standing there? Is he unclear about Ivankov's abilities? Go and stop Whitebeard. While Whitebeard hasn't become stronger yet, before the S******* king's ability hasn't worked. Sengoku did not expect that Ron was still standing there, seeming to be still looking at Whitebeard. There was no way to stop him in advance. Sengoku knew very well that with Ron's strength and speed, it was easy to stop in the past. Advertisement, but Ron didn't move. Ron, go and stop Whitebeard. Sengoku immediately came to Ron and reminded. Now that they have an advantage, they absolutely cannot let this advantage disappear. And now with Ron's strength, the advantage against Whitebeard is actually not that great. After all, it is night. In case, Whitebeard has increased his strength several times. Then surely Ron is not his opponent, so, Sengoku was very anxious. He couldn't look at the fruits of victory that was about to arrive and was suddenly taken away by others. Unexpectedly, Sengoku said so, and Ron remained indifferent. Ah, wait a minute. After he gets stronger, don't worry. Ron's words almost angered Sengoku. Sengoku's old face went black. Zindao. No, your heart is too big, right? The opponent is an enemy. How can there be such a thing that waits for the enemy to become stronger? Don't take advantage of the enemy's weakness, quickly kill him. What if the enemy gets stronger after a while, and it comes back? Is Ron a little bit arrogant? Sengoku is really speechless now. Especially when he saw Ron's expression, he found that Ron was not joking at all, he was serious. He was really serious about waiting for Whitebeard to become stronger. Is there a brain disease? Sengoku really couldn't understand this behavior. And Ron looked calmly. It seems that he has been looking forward to this step. Sengoku has already regretted it. He can't figure out what Ron thinks at all. And Ron at this moment, he was indeed staring at Whitebeard. I saw the S********* King inject adrenaline into Whitebeard's body. Before this, Ron has 100 ways to stop Whitebeard from getting stronger. But Ron stood here and didn't move. It's not that he intends to give the enemy a chance. It wasn't Ron who pretended to be forced, but because. After becoming stronger, Whitebeard and the current Whitebeard are basically two prices. Ron's price refers to the progress bar. 0 the stronger the enemy, the higher the value of the reward. Since they are all shots once, why not maximize the reward? Advertisement, system, what is the current Whitebeard reward value? Ron said silently while staring at Whitebeard. Host, currently the reward that can be provided by killing Whitebeard is only 7%. Ron nodded in satisfaction. Just a minute ago, Ron's reward for killing Whitebeard is only 5%. And now it has risen to 7%. This shows that Whitebeard's strength has gradually soared. Take Ron's current progress bar. Every time it rises a little more, it has become extremely difficult. Ron has almost reached 100%. It is now 90.6%. At this point, the reward value will only increase and decrease. Since reaching 90%, it only increased by 0.6% after killing one 3 times. It can be seen how difficult it will be in the future. Don't look at Whitebeard's current value has only increased by 2%. But his strength has more than doubled at least. However, 7% of Ron is still not satisfied. Don't look at so many pirates at the scene. Killing these little pirates at Ron's current progress is probably not long at all. It's not bad that all the 6 volleys present can rise by 0.1%. The total of these squad captains under Whitebeard is estimated to be less than 1%. If you can't use this battle to brush the template progress to 100%, then there will be no chance again, so Ron can never let go of this big reward. Doesn't Whitebeard want to be strong? Then make him stronger. The system will check again. I am killing Whitebeard now, how many bonus points can I increase? As long as he gets stronger and stronger, then Ron will get more and more reward points for killing him. The voice of the system rang in Ron's mind. Whitebeard really didn't disappoint me, it seems that the time to unlock the next template is close. 4 more 7% is not enough, and Whitebeard's figure also swelled. An aura of great oppressiveness spread out. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Grow any more, Whitebeard. The template progress that can be brought about by killing Whitebeard has gradually increased. 8.2%. Whitebeard can get more. 8.4%. Host. Killing the current Whitebeard can increase the progress of the Crime of Pride template by 8%. Is this a 1% increase in just 10 seconds? Ron watched the continuous injection of adrenaline. Even if we add, Zhao. Good, 7% now, it is only 97.6%. Chapter 128. Auto-generated chapter title, 128. 5 times Whitebeard punched one Admiral. Ron can dare to take a punch. What a joke. Ron, what are you doing? Sengoku has gone crazy. Ron, this guy is really standing here indifferent. Just watched Whitebeard get stronger and stronger. Now Whitebeard's aura has far surpassed Ron. Sengoku's observation haki is quite strong. He can clearly feel the strength of a person. What he currently perceives in observation haki is that Whitebeard is already above Ron at this moment. And it's already exceeded a lot, if you let Whitebeard get so strong. Then the marine is finished. With the current situation, Sengoku can't think of anyone who can be the opponent of Whitebeard. The most terrifying thing is, this is not over yet. Whitebeard's momentum is still rising. The strength of the whole person is still increasing at a steady rate. Is this the power of hormonal fruits? Unexpectedly, a person's short-term strength can be raised to such a terrifying level. And this hormone is still continuously being delivered to Whitebeard's body. Worthy of being the strongest man. What kind of physical fitness is it to withstand so many hormones? Sengoku took a breath. He didn't understand why Ron hadn't shot yet. In fact, Ron was waiting for Whitebeard to become stronger. At present, the template progress brought by the killing of Whitebeard has reached 8.7%. As Whitebeard continues to grow stronger, this reward will continue to increase. Ron 747 intends to do it once and for all. He intends to use Whitebeard to directly stack the template progress to 100%. Of course, this is something Sengoku cannot understand. He didn't know either, so in his perspective, Ron is standing there arrogantly. Ron can be so arrogant, but Sengoku absolutely can't. Ron is now the face of the entire Marine's combat effectiveness. If Ron loses, it means Marine loses. Now Whitebeard's strength has surpassed Ron. If we continue to develop, Ron will have no hope of winning at all. After all, it is night now. Ron's strength has reached this point. If it was daytime, maybe Sengoku would not be so worried. No, Whitebeard must be stopped now, since Ron didn't do anything. Then leave it to yourself. Even if let him strengthen a little bit less, the gap between the two sides will be less widened. Think of it here. Sengoku immediately ordered the three Admiral. Hurry up, the three of you, go up. Be sure to interrupt Whitebeard. Don't let the Ladyboy King continue to inject Whitebeard with adrenaline. Advertisement. It's better to kill that S************* King. Sengoku immediately made the smartest move for now. Three Admiral is not an idiot either. They also know that if Whitebeard continues to grow stronger, everyone in the Marine will be buried with him. In this state, Whitebeard has far surpassed their three Admiral. Together, the three of them will not be his opponent. He must be immediately prevented from continuing to grow stronger. At this moment, even Kizaru dare not care. The fish stopped smiling and immediately got serious. When he heard the order, he was the first to attack. If Marine is over, where will he go fishing? With this idea, Kizaru fought the most serious battle ever. I saw Kizaru fly directly into the air. Cross your hands. In an instant, it turned into a huge beam of light. The golden light illuminates the entire night sky frame. In this dark night, it was incredibly dazzling. The skylight converged on Kizaru a little bit. 8-foot mirror Guyu, immediately afterwards. It shot downwards like a flood that had released a floodgate. Countless golden light spots spread the entire night sky. In an instant, like countless machine guns, it fired downwards. This saturated raindrop attack instantly shot out towards the Whitebeard pirate group. The impact of huge kinetic energy plowed almost the entire ground. Bang bang bang. Kizaru was serious this time. He used almost all his abilities. Damn it. Protect Dad. BEFC. When Marco saw this, he immediately turned into a phoenix. Flew into the air and stopped the 8-foot mirror Guyu with his body. A huge spot of light shone on Marco, worthy of being a phoenix. Marco actually used his powerful recovery ability to withstand Huang Ape's attack. But this time, he underestimated the true strength of an Admiral. Kizaru's level is not something he can stop, once Kizaru is serious. The fighting power erupted, really lives up to the name Marine Admiral. Kizaru flashed along the light spot in the air, and appeared in front of Marco in an instant. Without even thinking about it, turning around is just a kick. Generally volleys like the speed of light, it was directly on Marco's chest. With a bang, advertisement Marco couldn't stand such a force at all. It turned into a meteor and fell from the sky, hit the ground fiercely. Hit a big hole. Send, don't block the old man. As soon as Kizaru's words fell, he withdrew his gaze. Cross your hands again. The sky is full of golden light spots. Recondensed. It fired frantically in the direction of Whitebeard again. The whole sky is like countless machine guns with sparks. Especially in this dark night, exceptionally obvious. Shoo shoo shoo. The sound of light piercing the air is so rapid and dense. Goo la 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 la. Kizaru kid, it's not your turn to go wild here. Almost at this moment, Whitebeard's adrenaline has been injected. King Ivankov immediately took a step back, standing behind Whitebeard. Now, the flood of light and rain was rushing towards them in a saturated attack. And Whitebeard just raised his head slowly, then laughed out loud. Subsequently, just in full view, make a fist with one hand. And its relaxed and disdainful way, a bowl of fierceness against the air. The entire space was torn in an instant, just this punch. It directly stopped all the light spots of Kizaru. This huge shockwave, while shattering the space, it spread directly to Kizaru. Taste. Kizaru's body in the air was directly torn apart. It was broken into countless optoelectronics, it fell on the ground again and formed a personal shape. The cohesive humanoid Kizaru, just after landing, spit out a mouthful of blood. Ahem. Internal injury. With just this ordinary punch, Kizaru was seriously injured. Goo la 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 la. Whitebeard smiled and looked at Ron. This laughter also contained shock. The surrounding walls cracked instantly. At this moment, Whitebeard has increased his strength by at least 5 times in a short time. Now he doesn't feel tired or painful, and his body is sprinting with a lot of adrenaline. Whitebeard focused his eyes slightly and said in a deep voice. Ron, there is no sun right now, do you still dare to stand there and take the old man a knife? Chapter 129. Auto-generated chapter title, 129. Win rate 0%? Prepare to activate skills to summon the noon sun one by one? Sengoku's complexion changed. The secret road made a bad sound. I didn't expect Whitebeard to become so strong. He knew Kizaru's strength very well. He didn't expect that Admiral, who was as strong as Kizaru, would be severely injured by Whitebeard's punch. This is still under Kizaru's full output. Sengoku took a rough look at what he saw and heard Whitebeard's strength. It was found that he had improved at least 5 times. Horrible. As the strongest man in the world, he has been promoted to such a strong power at this moment. This is definitely not something they can stop, and now Whitebeard's aura far surpasses Ron. You can't go wrong with Sengoku's knowledge. That is to say now, even Ron is not Whitebeard's opponent. This is how to do. Sengoku couldn't lose as Martial Marine, it couldn't lose at all. This is a bet on all Marines' battles. If you lose this time, Marine will be destroyed directly. He really couldn't imagine the consequences. The entire Marine has been standing on the sea for 800 years. It must not be buried in his hands. This is Sengoku's dignity as a Marine Marshal. It is also his indelible bottom line. But, who can beat him now? No one is Whitebeard's opponent anymore. Is Marine really in desperation? Garp rubbed his fists and said, if it doesn't work, let's go together. I also feel that Ron's aura is not as good as Whitebeard now. He is not Whitebeard's opponent now. Let's go together, try to hold it till dawn. When the sun comes out, we still have hope. Garp is serious. He, who has always been careless, is also very serious at the moment. Although Whitebeard is here to save Ace, Garp can tell right from wrong. The justice behind told him that this battle must never be lost. If Marine is completely wiped out by the pirates, how will the news report tomorrow? Think about it, my back is chilly. Now the entire battlefield has nothing to do with Ace. This is Marine's battle for survival. Sengoku nodded and said. It can only be so. Advertisement, we will go with Ron. Sengoku has made up his mind. Now, Akainu and Aokiji Admiral winked at the side. For a while, if they cooperate well, it must be able to hold Whitebeard. As for defeating him, that is absolutely impossible, now it is. Unless it was Ron at noon. There is no need to discuss the question of whether or not it can be played. What we need to discuss now is how to hold Whitebeard. Drag until dawn. Whitebeard, the effect of adrenaline is only 2 hours. When these 2 hours are up, the hormones will lose their effect, and the side effects will go back to your body. King Ivankov said. He was reminding Whitebeard. Of course Whitebeard knew what he meant, he just nodded without a trace. Then said, 2 hours is enough to kill them. It doesn't even take 2 hours. Whitebeard is fully aware of his own power now. This is no longer a question of whether it is strong or not. He is completely confident now, dealing with the whole Marine alone. This is not an exaggeration, with his fruit power. Plus 5 times the original strength, only 2 words can describe him. Invincible. Goo la 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 la, but Whitebeard didn't care about his strength. He is still very cautious, after all, it was Ron. Even if the knight deprived him of most of his abilities, it was not a careless opponent. This time, see if you dare to stand there and take my cut. Whitebeard cuts through the clouds with the supreme sharp knife, and once again dashes in Ron's direction. Whitebeard at the moment, have 5 times the power. With each step, the whole earth trembled violently. The power of shock fruit in the body seems to be uncontrollable. Almost every movement will convey strong vibration waves to the surrounding. Advertisement block, every step of Whitebeard will shake the ground into a ravine. The whole Marine vibrated a lot. Even some people who are weak are unable to stand firm. With every step Whitebeard took, many people fell to the ground. The power of shock fruit's awakening has caused earthquakes all the time. The system, query the current template progress value that can be increased by killing Whitebeard. Ron still stood calmly where he was. Just watch Whitebeard approach him step by step. No matter what Sengoku next to him shouted, for flowers. Regardless of how Garp et al. Reminded. It's just in my mind that he asked the system that he cares most about. He wants to know, can the airport Whitebeard get the most benefit now? Host, currently kill Whitebeard to get 9.2% template progress. The system still informed Ron of the data value in cooperation. 9.2%? The current template progress value is 90.6%. Adding this 9.6% is 99.8%. Damn it, it's just a bit short. The system, inquire whether Whitebeard has room for growth. Ron asked unwillingly. The remaining 0.2% don't know how many pirates can be killed to get it. The further it grows, the slower and slower it grows. If you can't rely on Whitebeard to forcefully fill up, you will probably have to delay it for a long time if you want to unlock the progress of the next template. Host, to measure Whitebeard in an all-round way. He has already squeezed all the potential of his body. It has reached the critical value and can no longer be improved. This is already Whitebeard, the strongest limit that a human being can reach. The adrenaline in his body has far exceeded the lethal emperor. That's really a pity. Calculate the odds of winning against Whitebeard with my current strength. Ron still stood there, unmoved. Even if Whitebeard is less than 50 meters away from him. Host, currently in the magic of the sun in my heart. At the current state, the probability of killing Whitebeard is 0%. It seems that the adrenaline of Whitebeard is really not in vain, and Whitebeard in 5 times the state is still far better than me in the early morning. Then, prepare to activate the skill, Summon the Noon Sun. Criminal of Pride template final level skill, Noon Sun. You can forcibly summon the noon sun without time limit and location. Even in the night sky, it can instantly turn him into daylight. Under the noon sun, the power of all sins of arrogance will be exerted, and the ultimate form of heaven in the world can be used unlimitedly, so I am the only one who does not consume health. The sun is immortal, and the body is immortal. It has been queried that more than 90% of the host template can be used. Chapter 130. Auto-generated chapter title, 130. Drag today, Admiral all route, can't stop 1 minute. Even in the dark, Ron forced to summon the sun this almost miraculous means. It is Ron who is not afraid of anyone's capital, but how did Sengoku know that Ron had this kind of hole cards? Can you imagine that in the dark night, the night will turn into daylight? So, see it from Sengoku's perspective. I only saw the aggressive Whitebeard rushing towards Ron. However, observe it with his experience and color.
Ron couldn't stop Whitebeard's blow. The current Whitebeard is too strong.
Much better than Ron. It's dark now, early morning.
And Ron was still standing there, not moving. Is he still planning to hold on to Whitebeard's attack?
Are you kidding me? Does he think it is noon now? Ron, is this guy still so arrogant? When can he change this habit? In fact, Sengoku also found out, no matter what the situation is in the face of 747. Ron never dodges attacks, never escaped at once. They all receive the opponent's attack from the front. However, that's all because Ron's strength is much higher than the opponent. So Sengoku didn't say anything about the habit of seeing Ron before. After all, they are strong, so they can do whatever they want. But this time is different. This time, it is clear that Whitebeard is better than Ron. Ron's still stiff here, isn't it looking for death? With this cut, 2 halves are considered light, must die. But Ron is not much. Look like this, still planning to take Ron's attack head on. This can't help but make Sengoku's old face black. Regarding Ron's personal life and death, Sengoku doesn't actually care. What he cares about is the success or failure of the entire marine. Ron was so careless and killed himself, that was his business. But when Ron died, it meant that Marine was completely defeated. This is definitely not what Sengoku wants to see. Ron can stand there, Sengoku couldn't say to him. But, Sengoku absolutely can't let Whitebeard really cut it over. Commanded without hesitation at the moment, quickly, hold Whitebeard. The voice just fell. Akainu and Aokiji rushed over. Chingshong is good at long-range attacks, so the skill was activated first. One shot is Ice Age. Advertisement after the last battle with Ron. Aokiji's strength increased by another point. The freezing capacity now far exceeds that of the time. Even the air can freeze. I saw Chingshong crossed his hands. The whole body was half flying in the air, in an instant. Transparent snowflakes spread from the whole body. That is the result of the air being frozen. What? Frozen spread rapidly. Soon, he touched the Whitebeard. Ultimate low temperatures. Almost instantly the whole body will Whitebeard all frozen. Ice spread fast. Whitebeard still running. Feet have not had time landing. It had been frozen to live, and instantly turned into ice sculpture. However, this does not end. Frozen rapidly spread. All around its entire frozen into a square. Aokiji spit white gas. Finally sealed his movements. This time, Zero Whitebeard cannot move, right? Green male, do not stop, now is a good opportunity to kill Whitebeard. Sengoku immediately shouted back. Aokiji, this guy, he has a fatal weakness. Just do not love up the knife. He always thought that the enemy can be brought under control, but this is not enough. It must truly be considered the end to kill the enemy. Sengoku hear these words, Aokiji also very clear. Must while he was sick to his life, this is a golden opportunity. This is simply because all the attention of all in the Whitebeard Ron body, this did not defend him frozen. It is imperative, that is taking advantage of this opportunity, the end of Whitebeard's life. In the moment of landing male youth, suddenly, a few trident, both sides appear out of thin air Aokiji. Ice formed entirely by trident, the assassination of the moment. It is aimed at Whitebeard's chest, however trident attack and before tracked Whitebeard. He only heard the sound of a layer of ice cracking. Bang bang bang, Whitebeard shattered all the soldiers on his body unscathed. Wow, la la la, frozen kid, you are not far behind if you want to freeze me. Not to mention the current Whitebeard, even the previous Whitebeard would not be so frozen. Today, he has 5 times the strength. Whitebeard didn't even have to use any force, and directly shattered the ice. The next moment, seeing Whitebeard stretched out a punch, it dropped directly at the frozen trident that was flying over. Broken. There was a loud noise. The trident shattered with the air. Immediately after, advertisement Whitebeard gathered shock fruit's abilities on Kong Yunchi. Then he swung a knife directly in the direction of Aokiji. Boom. The entire space is distorted. This huge shock force hit Chingshong's chest. Knocked Aokiji directly into the air. A deep gully was plowed in the ground. Then Chingshong slammed into the Marine headquarters building. The huge impact, mixed with shocks, almost instantly destroyed the entire building. Aokiji was buried directly in it. Before this, Whitebeard also used this trick. But the power is far less powerful than it is now. Sengoku glanced at where Aokiji was buried and frowned. This Whitebeard is so powerful that it makes people desperate. Meteor volcano, almost at the same time, accompanied by a loud shout. Moment, it was as if the entire volcano was knocked upside down in the sky. Hot magma poured down, turned into huge fists, It's like a meteorite. Illuminate the entire night sky brightly, a piece of scarlet. Blazing temperature, the air was scorched to give an unpleasant smell. A fist made of countless volcanic lava hit Whitebeard and smashed it down. Lava Kid, save this flame and go back to light the cake. Whitebeard directly stretched out his fist, he punched the sky sharply. Boom. The whole sky was cracked. The volcanic magma that was falling, all went out at this moment. Directly into pieces in the air. Akainu was shocked. Catch Whitebeard's attack on the gap in the sky, immediately incarnate Dark Hound. He punched Whitebeard directly in the chest, this fist turned into billowing magma. If you can punch Whitebeard in the chest before changing it. Actively attacked, but seriously injured, only a shocking force came from Akainu's arm. 5.2 After rolling on the ground several times, he stood firm. But he was vomiting blood constantly in his mouth. The power of huge shocks. Obviously it was Whitebeard that he actively attacked. Whitebeard didn't even hide. The total time to resist Whitebeard does not exceed 2 minutes. Even repelled Akainu tens of meters, puff. At this point, all 3 Admiral were seriously injured, and no one was an enemy of Whitebeard in a 5-fold state. 7 more. But this punch hit Whitebeard's chest, but he was vomiting blood. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. But now, when Akainu's punch hit Whitebeard's chest. Akainu was vomited blood directly. Chapter 131, Auto-generated chapter title. 131. Garp Sengoku was second. Whitebeard. Ron, take me a knife. What? Impossible, all 3 Admiral have lost. How is it possible? Akainu Admiral, Kizaru Admiral, Aokiji Admiral, they are not weaker than the 4 Emperors. They were defeated by Whitebeard in less than a minute? I still can't believe it, this is how to do. Whitebeard has become so strong, is our Ron Admiral still his opponent? For a moment, the atmosphere of the whole Marine was depressed. Marine's highest combat power was unexpectedly vulnerable in front of Whitebeard. Unexpectedly, Whitebeard suddenly became so strong. How can people fight this? Marine's morale fell all of a sudden. They could not accept the fact that Admiral lost so quickly. Before this, they would also expect Whitebeard to be very strong. But there is no specific concept in my mind. How strong is Whitebeard? How strong is it? No one knows at all, but now. After seeing it with my own eyes, especially the 3 Admiral and Whitebeard formed a sharp contrast. Until this moment, the horror of Whitebeard finally has a rough outline in people's hearts. It is too strong. Strong enough that Admiral couldn't stop a blow in front of him. Almost at this moment, all Marine soldiers were enveloped by Whitebeard's terror. It is the first time for them to understand, why is this man in front of him called the strongest man in the world? I finally understand why Sengoku and the others are so worried about Whitebeard playing adrenaline. Because the stronger Whitebeard is simply not something they can stop. And now it is night again. Ron Admiral's strength is limited. In other words, the current situation is that a stronger Whitebeard meets a weaker Ron Admiral. The entire battlefield seemed to lean towards Whitebeard. Do you really want to lose? If Ron Admiral really can't stop Whitebeard, then all of the Marine will be buried with him. They don't think that Whitebeard will be merciful and kindly let these Marines go. Now things have reached the realm of endless death. The entire incident has been completely out of control. Now it's not just about rescuing Ace. It can be said that it has nothing to do with Ace. Ace is just a fuse. Now the contradiction between Marine and the pirate has been completely aroused. This battle cannot end unless one party dies. Because Whitebeard used this method, it was obviously killed. It is very likely that after this battle is over, Whitebeard will most likely die because of the super side effects of adrenaline. So he will definitely not just save Ace and finish it. He will surely fight his life and inflict heavy damage on Marine. If he gets a chance, Whitebeard will definitely annihilate Marine. To ensure that his crew members will not be retaliated against by Marine in the future. At this point, advertisement don't say it's Sengoku. Even these Marine soldiers can see clearly. Sengoku, it looks like there are only 2 of us left. Are you guy okay? Garp rubbed his fists and stepped forward to say. At this moment, his face was extremely solemn. This battle. It was many times harder than it was when dealing with rocks. At this moment, Whitebeard can even punch rocks to death. Garp didn't dare to entrust it. Don't talk about it alone at this time. That is purely seeking death. Sengoku nodded, then put a bandage on the lower body. Also stepped forward together and said, no problem. It's just a small injury, I can withstand it. Legends of 2 old ages. At this moment finally decided to join forces, and their goal. He is the old opponent and the legendary Whitebeard in the sea. Wow, la la la, are you 2 going to take action? This makes me even more convinced that Ron at night really can't really use Ron's power during the day. Otherwise, if you don't, the 2 old guys and these 3 Admiral won't come and attack me in such a hurry. Your purpose is to hold me down. Want to drag it until dawn? Sengoku, Garp, you 2 are also old Marines, can't you tell? Do you really think that you 2 can stop me now? Whitebeard's eyes fell, looking at Sengoku and Garp coldly. Garp and the Sengoku team looked at each other, there was a wry smile. Whitebeard has seen everything through, they naturally don't have to hide. It's useless to say more at this moment. Garp threw the cloak directly behind him on the ground. Instantly activate the system, disappeared directly in place. Very fast. Sengoku immediately used the power of the Great Buddha. It became a big Buddha. One leap into the air. Here comes a trick, the temple that descends from the sky. The shockwave brought by the Buddha's palm was pressed against Whitebeard. Two powerful men who dominated the entire era joined forces to attack Whitebeard. Gula lala, it's just right, Whitebeard seems to have found the feeling of the year. Decades ago, they just fought like this, however, the present tense has changed. At this moment, Whitebeard, who has 5 times the strength, faces the attack of the two again. Boom. Tekken Garp used an ultimate punch, advertisement. He hit Whitebeard directly on the head, and Whitebeard also punched back. Two fists clashed in midair, they collided directly together. Under Haki's collision, only persisted for less than a second. Garp stepped back several tens of meters. Known as Iron Fist Garp, he actually felt pain in his fist. At the same time, the great Buddha Sengoku that fell from the sky used a shockwave. Huge temple, it was pressed down like a big mountain. However, Whitebeard directly digs up the clouds and cuts it directly into the air with a knife. Whitebeard in 5 times the state, with the blessing of Conqueror's haki. Shock Fruit and Haki's double attack, break through the shockwave instantly. It slashed directly on the chest of the great Buddha Sengoku. A penetrating wound from left to right caused a burst of blood to spurt out of the golden Buddha's chest in an instant. The 747 Sengoku was instantly beaten back to the prototype. He fell heavily to the ground, at the same time. Garp had already used Moonwalk to harmonize, and came behind Whitebeard in an instant. Seized the gap in Whitebeard's attack, slammed a punch. Hit Whitebeard on the back. I have to say that Garp's combat experience is still very rich. This punch is impeccable in terms of timing and strength. However, the Whitebeard at this moment is no longer the Whitebeard before. Garp's full blow, although it hit Whitebeard firmly. But, Whitebeard remained motionless. Garp's face changed. Turn around directly, are you old? The attack doesn't hurt or itchy. Garp knocked over several warships one after another, and then fell into the sea. The huge impact was shocking. Directly fly Garp hundreds of meters. Blood spurted wildly in the air. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Whitebeard finished. In the same angle and way, never expected. Obviously, I don't even know how many ribs are broken. 8 more. Then pick me up again. Garp, now, no one will bother me anymore. Let me see if you still have the calmness you had before. He punched Garp in the back. Not only did Whitebeard's offensive power become stronger, but even his defensive power became stronger. Chapter 132, Auto-generated chapter title, 132. Who said that the sun can't come out at night? Summon the noon sun. Ahem. Damn it, is it really going to be over? Sengoku crawled out of the ruins. Garp also swims up from the middle of the ocean. Aokiji also got out of the abandoned building. Akainu patted the dirt on his body. Kizaru also wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. The 5 Marines' top combat strengths spontaneously stood up. Staring at the last hope. Watching Whitebeard, who quaked with every step, he was approaching Ron step by step. They didn't expect that Whitebeard would be so strong. Just a confrontation. All 5 people lost. Apart from Garp, no one has ever called Whitebeard 2 rounds. Garp and Whitebeard attacked and defended each other somehow. However, it didn't stop Whitebeard's punch. After all, it is no different from the moment. Now the whole marine is filled with a pessimistic atmosphere. 3 Admiral lost, they pinned their hopes on Garp and Sengoku. But unexpectedly, Garp and Sengoku also lost, for these marine soldiers. 5 of them represent Marine's top combat power. If one day these 5 people also lose, then Marine must have reached the end of the disaster. I didn't expect this day to come so soon. The 5 people went on almost together. Even this lineup has nothing to fight back. How strong is the opponent? And now it's night again. There is not even a round of moonlight in the sky. It can be said that it was when Ron Admiral was at his weakest. Compared to daytime, it's too bad. In the face of such a strong Whitebeard, with Ron Admiral's current state, I am afraid his end is not much better than the previous 5. But, Ron's prestige in Marine is extremely high at the moment. Although I don't know Ron can stop him, these Marine soldiers also looked at Ron hopefully. Maybe a miracle will happen. The big deal is to die with Ron Admiral. Anyway, this time, as long as Ron Admiral loses, then Marine will be finished. No one will be able to resist Whitebeard anymore. The opposite of Marine is the Pirates side, now. The Pirates under Whitebeard have reached a climax. Advertisement, all of them were excited. The sudden change of the whole battle really made them uncontrollable and yelled unscrupulously. You know, not long ago, old Whitebeard was beaten back by Ron. At the time they all thought Daddy Whitebeard would lose. But never expected. Ivankov suddenly appeared. He didn't know what he had hit the old man to make him so powerful. Reverse the situation all at once. Only one person completely overwhelmed Marine's 5 top-level combat capabilities. There is only one Ron left on the court now. It is not easy to want to defeat him. After all, it is early morning, and the old man had already slashed Ron before bleeding. Now it has gained 5 times more power. Want to kill Ron? Is it not easy yet? The Phoenix Marco. We will be able to take Ace home soon. Marine of damn it, this time I must teach them a painful lesson. Diamond George clenched his fists and said coldly. It's better to take this opportunity and let Marine disappear in this world. Foil Beasta drew out the long double swords, set his eyes coldly. Cut the weeds to get rid of the roots, so we must never give Marine time to relax. After a while, Dad killed Ron, we launched a general offensive, wiped Marine from this world in one fell swoop, and did not give them any chance of revenge. Pirates are pirates after all, killing is their nature. Several captains under Whitebeard's command hit it off. Now, just waiting for Dad to kill Ron, goo la la la. Ron, are you not going to run away? After all, this is Marine's business and has nothing to do with your army. After all, you are here to help them, every step Whitebeard took. The whole earth trembled for a minute, every word Whitebeard said. The space oscillated once, if it is an ordinary person. I am afraid that Chi Chao has already fainted with blood. Whitebeard is like a man with shockwaves all over his body. Why should I run away? Ron had just checked Whitebeard's progress value at the moment. Although killing Whitebeard now only increases by 9.6%. But this is already the limit. After all, Whitebeard has no room to continue to grow. Advertisement. Then Ron didn't need to keep him, because it's dark now. Through your performance today and Sengoku's performance, it is enough to confirm that our intelligence is not wrong. Without the sun, you are just an ordinary person. In the middle of the night, even if you use this force forcibly, you can't reach the height of the day. You can't bleed during the day, right? Whitebeard stared at Ron with a look through everything. Subsequently, he lifted Kong Yunchi in his hands. The entire blade is covered with a layer of white shock fruit ability. Conqueror's haki, armament haki are all covered on it. Wandering around the entire knife, it was the same as the one that Whitebeard slashed at Ron not long ago. Using the strongest method Whitebeard can currently use. It's just that the previous knife only cut Ron a bit of skin. It made him bleed a little and the wound was less than a centimeter deep. But now, the difference is that Whitebeard has 5 times the power. Also use the strongest attack. This slash was enough to split Ron into 2 and die on the spot. Who said that the sun cannot appear in the early morning? However, what Whitebeard never expected was that Ron was not afraid of danger, still expressionless, and suddenly said such a sentence indifferently. Suddenly, Whitebeard was stunned, and the knife he was holding forgot to slash down. What nonsense is this kid talking about? How can the sun appear in the early morning? Are you kidding me? Isn't it scared to be stupid? It's a dark sky now, there is still a good time before the sun appears. Jiao. A few hours. Can you still call the sun out? Whitebeard frowned. Can't help laughing. Ron laughed too. Haha, who said that the sun can't be called out? Look at Ron with a serious expression, it's not like a joke. Although Whitebeard didn't believe Ron's nonsense. But still decided to start first, however, at this moment. Ron yelled suddenly. Summon the noon sun. The voice just fell. Suddenly a scorching sun appeared in the dark night sky. Appear out of thin air, hanging in the east. In an instant, the whole night turned into daylight. A fiery light shines on the earth. 9 more. Today is over. The physical condition of the recent cold is not good. The more is less 0.0. Chapter 133 Auto-generated chapter title. 133. The Miracle, the night turns into day. Seeking subscription. Just a second ago, all the members of the Whitebeard Pirates thought Ron was talking nonsense. After all, it is dark early morning. How could the sun appear? And listening to Ron's tone seemed to be able to summon the sun. Isn't this a joke? No such weird thing has happened in the entire pirate world for 800 years. They even went crazy for Ron once. After all, Marine is at a big disadvantage now. Ron is the only Marine who still has combat capabilities. If Ron loses, it means that Marine will immediately disappear from this world today. Thousands of burdens are concentrated on Ron. Is it too stressful? So this man has been talking nonsense, it must be so. All the pirates including Marco, they all have this idea at the moment. Although this inference is not suitable for an army admiral person. But, it is more reasonable than the idea that he can summon the sun. Even Marco, Diamond Joe's and others almost didn't hold back a laugh. The whole pirate is now at the height of its arrogance. Victory is here, as a result. Before the battle started, Admiral on the opposite side went crazy first. This has to be said to be a very funny thing, thinking of how arrogant and domineering Ron was before. These pirates are even more embarrassed. Even Whitebeard looked dumbfounded. He thought Ron was talking nonsense. That's why the hands holding the long knife froze there. There was no reaction for a while. He has lived for so long and has never heard of anything that can summon the sun at night. What nonsense is this guy talking about? If such a method really exists, what is the difference from God? It's not just the pirate on Whitebeard's side. The whole Marine is now looking dumbfounded. They don't understand. Why did Ron say this suddenly? Could he really call the sun out of the night? Although they admit that Ron is very good during the day, but turning the night into the day is too exaggerated, isn't it? This is simply not something human can do. Sengoku coughed twice. Looks at Garp. Have you heard of it? Garp shook his head. Where there is such a thing, it is simply impossible. Even the most powerful devil fruit, it basically only controls the laws of nature. It's a bit weird to change the laws of nature like this. The two old men smiled at each other and shook their heads. It is indeed impossible. Since it's impossible, why does Ron say that? Advertisement. He has never been like a person who can say, BEFC, a joke. Isn't it crazy? As a sparkling fruit-capable person, Kizaru is actually very close to the sun. But, compared with the sun, his light is really insignificant. Even if he had awakened the sparkling fruit ability, he could only lighten the night a little. How can it be possible to turn night into day, unless it's really a little boy out there? But, how could the real sun be called out by a human being? This has broken the perception of all of them. No one will believe it. 3 Admiral at this moment, all were severely injured by Whitebeard. They also know, with their current state, they can't beat Whitebeard 5 times. Ron was still their only hope. But, how did it feel that Ron had lost his intent to fight? He started talking nonsense. However, it was in the unbelievable gazes of both sides. Ron just stood there, stretched out a finger, pointed to the sky. Take a soft drink. Summon the noon sun, as Ron's voice fell. Everyone in the audience looked confused. Suddenly, the dark night seemed to be torn open. A beam of scorching sunlight pierced the night and shone on the ground. However, this is just the beginning. At this moment, no one spoke, all staring at the sun, already speechless. Look up at this dark night. Indeed, I did not read it wrong, it is indeed early morning. But in the midst of the starlight, the entire dark night sky, like a black cloth, just tore a small slit from the middle. A beam of sunlight penetrated the black cloth and shone on the earth. This beam of light is getting bigger and bigger. The cracks in this black cloth are getting bigger and bigger. The scorching sensation of the sun has driven away the coldness of the night. It only took a moment. The whole sun has covered many marlins. Is this over? No, this is just the beginning. The 3 Admiral present, including Sengoku Garp and others, felt the familiar feeling of sunlight shining on the skin. This temperature, isn't it the noon sun? How can this be? All the pirates took 2 steps back involuntarily. As if seeing something terrible, sunlight really appeared. Is it an illusion? Advertisement wrong. The temperature is so real, it is not an illusion. It's really sunshine. Wrong, more than just sunshine. Because at this time everyone looked up and found a horrible scene. It is not sunlight that tears the night apart. I saw the dark night sky. From the crack in the black cloth, that beam of sunlight broke through the shackles of darkness. Immediately afterwards, a round thing began to appear looming. With this round thing as the center, the surrounding night madly escaped. At a speed visible to the naked eye, disappeared in the field of vision. The dark sky, a azure blue began to spread around, driving away the darkness. First, the entire marlin is numerous, then gradually spread to the entire sea. The speed of diffusion is getting faster and faster. Just like the sun rising in the early morning, it swept away the darkness in an instant. The whole night turned into day. Tens of thousands of people present all raised their heads and opened their mouths in astonishment. An incredible look. It is impossible to describe their feelings in words. The night before was still dark, the next second has come to dawn. No, not dawn. The temperature of the sun is gradually warming up. The sun at 8 o'clock. The sun at 9 o'clock. The sun at 10 o'clock. The sun at 12 o'clock, said blankly. The night is gone. Ron singled his finger at the sun in the sky. Etc. In front of the hot sun, the lights before the entire marlin were so numerous were obviously so insignificant. All people have a feeling of being in a world away. There is no dark place in the sea all day long. What is going on with this rising momentum? The whole body began to expand rapidly. Everyone suddenly bowed their heads and saw Ron again. One more. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Who said, the sun can't appear in the night, they can now clearly see any person's face. The familiar feeling of oppression came again. In a flash came the day. At the same time, the blazing temperature instantly enveloped the earth. Chapter 134. Auto-generated chapter title, 134. Does anyone think that Ron can be defeated in the dark? It's not just Marlin who is confused, but the whole world. Now the whole pirate world is full of daylight, for many people who don't know. Weird. They only have this word in their hearts. Many people were still asleep in the middle of the night. Suddenly, warm sunlight was shining on the body through the window. Scorching temperature, bright and dazzling. In an instant, many people who were asleep in the middle of the night were awakened. Is it dawn? Is the sky bright so soon? Obviously I didn't feel it. How long did you sleep? That's right, I just lay down. No, I remember I just closed my eyes. Almost all the residents of the world heard all kinds of doubts. Who can imagine? Many people were just lying in bed just now, ready to have a good night's sleep. However this time, it's daybreak. He is aiming at the sky? What are you doing? Almost this scene appeared all over the world at the same time. People put on their clothes directly, opened the door and went outside. He looked up at the strange sun that appeared in the sky. Many people didn't even react. Is it really bright now? Some people think they are dreaming. Some people think they have drunk too much. When they rushed to tell each other, only then knew that the time was indeed early in the morning. In other words, an even more incredible scene appeared. The sun appeared early in the morning. This is not as good as they drank too much, and the explanation of hallucinations is more scientific. The appearance of the sun at night is magical enough, right? What exactly is going on? Is the end here? The whole world is hateful. Every island and every country in the world has fallen into panic. This round of tomorrow is too dazzling. Revolutionary Army Headquarters. Even the alarm sounded directly. They thought there was an enemy raid. But when he came outside in full gear, suddenly found a round of sun in the sky. Advertisement Dorag, leader of the Revolutionary Army. Frowning, looking at the sky, Shen Shang said, "Why'd I have a bad feeling? This sun reminds me of that man. The second in command of the Revolutionary Army, Sabo also just got out of bed." Staring at the sky with a dumbfounded look, then immediately asked the entourage around him. "Did something big happen today? The soldier just got the telegram he received." Said immediately. According to the news from the front, Edward Newgate launched a general attack on Marine headquarters in Whitebeard this evening. Heard this sentence. Sabo sucked in a cold breath, frowned, and paced back and forth. Sure enough, did you choose tonight? Is this sun related to this matter? Soon, Sabo came to Dorag, and the Revolutionary Army immediately called an emergency meeting. Sabo, what do you think about this matter? Dora asked straightforwardly. Sabo thought for a moment and said, I have a bad feeling, Dorag. Do you remember the information you got at that time? Dorag nodded and said, You mean Marine hired a helper from the army, right? Sabo nodded. That's right, the helper they invited from the army is Ron. This guy is our old enemy. I thought he was invited to Marine, which is a good thing for us and can relieve the pressure on our border defense. But I got the information just now. Sabo's expression suddenly became serious. Durago frowned, as if he had guessed something. What information did you get? Sabo took the latest telegram from his arms and delivered it to Dorag. I just received it too, and I'm planning to tell you. Dorage looked at the newspaper with a more serious expression. The frown gets deeper and deeper. While holding the telegram, he paced back and forth. The guy Whitebeard has chosen to attack Marlene tonight. In other words, they are now fighting Marine. Really, a cunning old man. It seems that he also knows Ron's weakness. As Ron's old adversary, Dorag's Revolutionary Army has fought Ron more than once or twice. They also figured out Ron's fighting characteristics. This man is basically stronger as it goes to noon. It gets weaker in normal times, and never fights at night. Based on this information, Dorag easily judged that Whitebeard must have also known about it. Otherwise, he would not choose to attack Marlene in the early morning. Advertisement. It has to be said that the four emperors really have their own level of sky reaching, and it is not surprising to be able to get this kind of information. Being able to make this kind of decision is also in line with their cunning character. But, for flowers, this gave Dorag a bad premonition even more. Sure enough, Sabo continued. Dorag, boss, since Whitebeard is now attacking Marlene a lot. And the guy Ron was asked by Marine to deal with Whitebeard. And it's early morning again, but the sun suddenly appeared strangely, turning the whole world into daylight. This has to be scary, Chief Dorag. Sabo didn't finish his words, but everyone already understood the meaning of his words. Follow this logic, it is easy to draw a conclusion. They felt a terrible conclusion that was suffocating. That is, the appearance of the sun in the sky must be related to Ron. After all, at night, Ron couldn't show his strength. Zero Whitebeard estimated by what means he had used to strengthen his strength and overwhelm Ron. This allowed Ron to use this weird method to summon the noon sun to strengthen his ability. The more I think about it, the more terrible it becomes. Before that, they thought Ron had a weakness. Just seize the opportunity of the night. There is a way to defeat Ron, and, if your actions are carried out in the dark, you will basically not encounter Ron's attack. Because Ron has never shot in the dark, but now. What is the difference between this and death? Sabo frowned and asked in a deep voice. Durago, Chief, what should we do now, although this inference is unrealistic? If this inference is not true, then who will explain the sun that appears in the sky at this moment? No one wants this inference to be true, but, Durago also shook his head. The human being who can summon the sun can no longer be called a human, right? They even said that even the people who made this inference didn't believe in themselves. They have never been so desperate for a moment. After getting this inference, everyone chilled their backs. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. If Ron can even summon the sun, what is the point of being an enemy? 2 more pills. Apart from gods, are there other words to describe? He will be invincible. If this inference comes true, then Ron has no weaknesses. Chapter 135. Auto-generated chapter title. 135. Aren't you coming to slash me? I'm just standing here, come on. Holy Land Marijoy. It was also daylight at the moment. As a country on Red Line, every time they dawned, they came earlier than others. But, you have never been this early, have you? It's okay to be earlier, it's too early for a long time, right? These pampered celestial dragons, they all opened the window cursingly. What do they think the world government is doing strange experiments? That's why the whole Marijoy that I took is so bright. But when they opened the window they found out. A scorching sun hung in the east. Is it dawn? Celestial dragons were dumbfounded. They have not seen such a situation. All of a sudden, the entire world government was in chaos. 5 elders received Yimu's summons and hurriedly put on their clothes and came to the world government headquarters. They just lay down and didn't even sleep. The 5 guys, 750, were also full of doubts along the way. They were planning to recharge their energy, then use the ancient weapon Uranus to teach Ron a lesson. Unexpectedly, such a weird scene suddenly appeared in the sky. 5 people hurried to the secret meeting room. Yimu directly sat there early. This was the first time they saw Yimu arrive earlier than them. Usually they have to wait for Yima for a long time, and Yimu will be late. This shows that Yimu attaches great importance to this matter. It has reached a very high level. 5 elders saw Yimu and knelt down immediately. Waiting for Yimu's instructions, Yimu didn't speak, and they didn't dare to speak. The 5 old guys had actually guessed what Yim called them to come over. After all, such a big sun is hanging outside. Even fools know that something is wrong. Master Yimu must have called them here for this matter. But the 5 of them were also dumbfounded. They didn't even know what happened. How should I explain to Lord Yim at this moment? Come on, who will explain to me? What is the sun in the sky? Yim said in a deep voice. 5 elders' heart tightened. Finally asked. But they can't answer either. Who knows why a sun suddenly appeared? This is against common sense at all. Advertisement. How do they explain it? Master Yimu, we don't know either. 5 elders, fat, still bite the bullet and said. After all, Lord Yim asks, he can't help but answer, right? If you don't answer, just wait to die. Sure enough, when he finished speaking, Yim was silent for a moment. What do you want? Do you really think I raised your 5 waists just for you to answer that you don't know? Yimu's tone also became cold. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with the efficiency of 5 elders. The status of 5 elders was given by Yimu. The reason why Yimu wants such 5 spokespersons is to serve him in the world. But obviously, now these 5 guys, some disappointed him. They didn't know anything about such a big event. 5 elders, fat, said tremblingly, Master Yim, do you think it has something to do with Ron? Yim frowned. Then, he slapped the chair sharply. The anger that has never been before, anger. Do you think I'm a fool? Push everything on Ron, don't think I don't know you have a personal grievance with him. But, tell me, a sun suddenly appeared outside and Ron did it. Do you believe this? 5 elders, fat, had a cold fight all over, hastily. He habitually pushes all this kind of things on Ron, but ignores the weirdness of this thing. Ron is a human being, how can such a thing be possible? 5 elders, fat, also knew that his statement was too far-fetched. But they really don't understand why the sun will appear in the sky. Yim said coldly. What are you still doing here? Don't hurry over and find out, what is the reason? Yim was already impatient. These 5 guys couldn't give him any useful news. This makes him very upset. He is an old monster who has lived for 800 years. He has not seen such a weird scene in these 800 years. If something goes wrong, there must be a demon. Yim always feels something wrong. Actually, this really made 5 elders, fat, right, it was indeed Ron who did it. It's just that no one believes it, don't say it's Yim. Even 5 elders, fat, finished speaking by himself, but he didn't believe it. Advertisement secretly shook his head, in Yimu's angry eyes. 5 elders withdrew slowly, when they left the secret meeting room. The 5 finally breathed a sigh of relief. What the hell is going on? Why does the sun appear in the early morning? Where do we go to check this? Yes, how do you investigate this kind of thing? It's really troublesome. I didn't expect such a thing to happen before dealing with Ron. Where is Uranus? Did you take it with you? Don't worry, it's already taken. I don't have the courage to go to Marine headquarters without Uranus. The 5 old guys looked at each other, secretly shook his head. They decided to check with Marine headquarters first. Then, the 5 old guys took Uranus with them and left Marijoy. Now, many in Marin. Ron singled his finger at the scorching sun in the sky. The whole body keeps skyrocketing, muscles burst all over. It is more than double the previous state. At the same time, this unparalleled momentum is growing. The sense of oppression dissipated uncontrollably around. He has reached the strongest form at noon. All over the world, the ultimate edition of Soliviousness is also used directly without any scruples. In the noon sun, using this trick will not burn life. As long as the summoned noon sun exists, Ron can be turned on indefinitely. It is the 9.6% template progress reward for walking. Ron, who had become extraordinarily large, took a step forward. 3 more, this is much better than when I dealt with Kaido and Auntie before. It's almost full, it was no longer Whitebeard in front of him. And now. Ron smiled slightly, said condescendingly. As long as this 9.6% is collected, Ron has reached 99.8%. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Aren't you going to come over and chop me? I'll just stand here, come on. Boom. For Ron, just walk towards Whitebeard. Worthy of being a crime of 90.6% of arrogance, Ron is satisfied that he has power in him now. 5.2 I just feel that the whole island is trembling. This is currently the strongest STA Chapter 136, auto-generated chapter title. 136. At this moment, the offensive and defensive trends are also different, seeking subscription. Such an indifferent, yet superior tone. Say it from Ron's mouth. It didn't even make Whitebeard feel a trace of contempt. Instead, it should be the same. What a strong sense of oppression. The strength of this guy soared so much in an instant. This made Whitebeard frown, looking at the dazzling sun in the sky. He couldn't imagine until now. It turned out to be late at night. Is your opponent a human? How did he summon the sun out of the night? Speaking of the whole world, who was the most shocked by Ron's summoning the sun? That was undoubtedly everyone in Marineford's presence. They witnessed this scene with their own eyes. When everyone in the world is still wondering, what is going on with this sun? The numerous Marine soldiers throughout Marine, the pirates have already witnessed this scene with their own eyes. There are no words to describe their current mood. In addition to unbelievable, still unbelievable, even many soldiers did not react. They can't even accept it at all, it's daytime now. It's all like in a dream, they completely refreshed their cognition. But, until someone called out, Ron, God of the Sun. At this time this scene, this sentence has a strong rendering power. As long as there are 14 seedlings in the crowd, it will show that the power of a prairie spreads instantly. Almost the entire marine was blown apart because of this sentence. Those who haven't reacted before, those who are still dumbfounded. It's like being awakened. Yes, this sun was summoned by Ron Admiral. This is a miracle, as expected of Ron Admiral. No wonder his strength will soar under the sun. I see. It turns out that he is a man gifted by the sun. This is the well-deserved god of the sun. In an instant, the whole marine soldiers cheered. Shouted Ron's name. Almost instantly, the morale of the entire marine rose. The rising sun still brings hope. The darkness driven away is also the despair before. Now, the offensive and defensive momentum is also different. These marine soldiers felt Ronner's expanding size. That unparalleled sense of oppression. Even if they are in strength and status, even if they don't know anything about it. They can also know how strong Ron is now. It is stronger than during the day. This kind of power is beyond what they can describe. Advertisement, but although they don't know how to describe it, but they know what it means. Marine will be the winner of this battle. Marine will not be eliminated in this battle. And the end of these pirates. The same as here. Ron's prestige in Marine has really reached a point where it can't be added. I'm afraid Marshal Sengoku doesn't have such great prestige now. If at this moment Sengoku and Ron give an order at the same time. It is estimated that these Marine soldiers, who are almost crazy, would not care what Sengoku said. In their eyes, the only one who can hold it right now is Ron. This gave them hope, this man who reinvigorated Marine's morale. Ordinary soldiers are the easiest to worship the strong. And Ron's style of doing things is extremely in line with the appetite of these soldiers. Sengoku watched the soldiers cheering. He didn't know what to say at the moment. Unexpectedly, inviting an admiral from the army would directly shake his position. Sengoku was still thinking about it before, if Kong really gave Ron the position of Marshal-in-Chief. With Ron's character and age, he is so qualified that he can't hold onto that position. To be in the position of Marshal in the army requires not only strength, but also prestige and military will. This is what Sengoku previously thought Ron did not possess. But saw this scene today. See these tens of thousands of Marine soldiers cheering for Ron. Sengoku only knew at this moment, these things he worried about were unnecessary. After today's battle, Ron no longer lacks prestige and military spirit. He is now popular. With a wave of the arm, tens of thousands of soldiers and the people wanted. Sengoku, do you feel it? Garp's stretched eyebrows also loosened. Looking at the scorching sun in the sky, he looked down at the man pointing the sun under the scorching sun. Could not help but say. Sengoku nodded heavily, also heaved a sigh of relief. Felt it. Ron's strength continues to rise. It seems to have exceeded any previous stage. Maybe, this battle. Sengoku did not continue to speak, he did not speak too much. But from his expression, I also saw his relief, as the main combatant of Marine. 3 Admiral at the moment. Stand neatly, even the expression on his face is similar. They stared at Ron in dismay, as Logia demon fruit power. One of the best. No one knows better than them how difficult it is to control and change the forces of nature. But, this guy Ron even directly changed the rules of nature. Let the sun appear at night, this is outrageous. Aokiji sighed and said, my ability to freeze has failed again. Advertisement, Ron Admiral's aura is countless times higher than when we first saw him. Akainu also recalled the fear of being dominated by Ron. However, before he thought that when he was playing against himself, that would be Ron's strongest form. But at this moment witnessed this scene with my own eyes. He just found out, Ron really was too merciful at the time. If this force is used, I'm afraid he is not lying in the hospital, but lying in the grave bag. Kizaru was even dazzled by this light, a man who makes his sparkling fruit dull. Whitebeard, I'm standing here, why don't you do it yet? Ron has opened the ultimate version of the state of ego alone in the sky. The whole body was burning with a sun-like flame. Just like the same person, Whitebeard Edward Newgate took a deep breath. Then laughed out loud. Wow, la la la, the fighting spirit is high. Unexpectedly, Ron could summon the sun and restore it to the noon state. This has completely eliminated Whitebeard's plan to kill Ron during the night. So in this case, 750 it is not considered taking advantage of others. Let's come to a show upright, I have 5 times the strength. Can it be defeated dignifiedly, you under the noon sun? Whitebeard brews power, said to the ladyboy king Ivankov beside him. One more stitch. This time, Whitebeard intends to be battled by the water. Even Ivankov's expression changed. One more shot, 10 minutes later, you will die. Your body has been squeezed to the limit. Whitebeard waved his hand indifferently. It's not enough now. Give me double the strength, I just want to kill him now. I heard Whitebeard say that. Ivankov also knew that this was the only chance to get rid of Ron. For the Revolutionary Army. Thinking of this, Ivankov stretched out his hand directly without hesitation and inserted it to Whitebeard's waist. Gudong, bang bang bang. This stitch goes down. Even everyone could hear Whitebeard's heartbeat. Every beat, it can cause violent vibrations in the air. There was a thumping sound. At this moment, Whitebeard's eyes were scarlet. 10 minutes. Squeeze all vitality to 10 minutes remaining. Gained 10 times the strength. Whitebeard at this moment compressed all the strength of his strongest man's life in these 10 minutes. Ron, don't die too fast. Chapter 137, Auto-generated chapter title. 137. 10 times Whitebeard's full blow. Ron is unscathed, seeking subscription. Now, Whitebeard can feel the abundance of power in his body. Binoculars are red, as if there is endless power. The power of shock fruit, it can even be released continuously with the beat of the heartbeat. Every time the heart beats, the whole ground vibrated. Cracks began to appear in all the numerous buildings throughout Marin. This is just the vibration caused by the beating of Whitebeard's heart. Bang bang bang. Whether it is Marine soldiers or pirates. They were all lying on the ground is already unstable. They could even hear the throbbing eardrum cracking of Whitebeard's heartbeat. Including Marine headquarters building, all the buildings are constantly collapsing. The whole sea also surged wildly, layers of waves crashed against each other. It seems that the entire sea surface is beginning to tilt. And those warships above, from deck to keel, all shattered. Including the pirate ship brought by Whitebeard himself. Sounds coming from within, after a few sounds, they fell apart. All the ships on the sea, at this moment, they are nothing more than broken planks floating on the surface of the sea. Bang bang bang. Whitebeard's heart beat faster and faster. The surrounding vibrations are becoming more and more obvious. Whitebeard took Kong Yunchi in his hand, step by step towards Ron. Every step closer to Ron. The crack in the ground around Ron made it worse. Whitebeard went faster and faster, then he ran directly. The entire Earth array is more obvious. Many marlins are swaying in the sea. The entire island began to sway, 10 times the power of Whitebeard. This knife, let's tell the winner, Whitebeard had this idea. With the pace getting faster and faster, leaped directly into the air. Flew into the air. Holding Kong Yunchi with both hands, he raised it above his head, from top to bottom. I saw Whitebeard shout. Exerted all strength. Wrap the two-color haki on the supreme sharp knife. Use all your stamina to stimulate shock fruit, this knife. Advertisement with all the haki in Whitebeard's body, and with all the shock fruit inspired by Whitebeard's physical strength. Still the same angle as before, the same direction of attack. Carry the power of heaven and earth and use the terror and destructive power of nature. Played shock fruit and haki to ultimate, under the tenfold increase in strength. Whitebeard cut down hard, it was aimed at Ron's shoulder. Before, he slashed here at the same angle, but that only scratched Ron's skin. Only a wound was cut. And now, under the blessing of 10 times the strength, Whitebeard still chose this angle and still chose Ron's shoulder. And the same. Ron still didn't hide, still standing there. Looking at Whitebeard blankly, but it is different from before. At the moment Whitebeard jumped up, Ron actually smiled at Whitebeard. Whitebeard didn't have time to understand what the smile meant. Ron, who has always been expressionless, would smile when he attacked. This guy. Really arrogant, don't I dodge even if I see this? That being the case, just go to die, research. The supreme sword cut through the clouds, and the space was deformed wherever it went. This sense of oppression seemed to fall in the sky. Even the Marines and the pirates who weren't the parties around were so crushed that they couldn't get up on the ground. It is with this power of ruining the world. Ron didn't move. Whitebeard went very smoothly, slashing heavily on Ron's shoulder. Only a huge roar was heard. Everyone present felt dizzy in their brains. This wild conquerors, the shockwave coming from the impact, and this deafening sound. Many people around him spit out foam directly, and fainted with bleeding in their ears. In an instant, the whole ground split directly in the direction of Whitebeard's slash. Start at Ron's feet. The whole Marineford is divided into two. Marineford is a very large island. The extra impact that was cut on Ron's shoulder by Whitebeard was directly split into two halves. After the island of Nuada was cut in half, the seawater in the middle spurted up directly. The island that was divided into two halves was tilted 60 degrees directly by the impact. Almost turned it over. The monstrous waves directly lifted thousands of meters. The huge waves formed by this blow alone stretched for thousands of miles, and even directly submerged all the countries on the surrounding islands. It can be seen how strong is Whitebeard's blow, advertisement. And Ron is in the world, the ultimate form of self-respect. Plus the power of the noon sun, the flames of the burning sun. Just stand there. Let Whitebeard hit with all his strength and slash it on his shoulder. You know, not long ago, there is no enhanced version of Whitebeard, but the knife slashed blood on his shoulder. And this time, faced with Whitebeard, the tenfold peak. The waves dissipated, the entire battlefield was calm. Those Marines and pirates who haven't fainted yet. When the first time comes to life, all eyes were on Whitebeard and Ron. This knife. What is the ending? Who on earth won Whitebeard or Ron? Is Ron dead? They can't wait to know the ending. After wiping off the seawater that is covering the face. All came to see here for the first time, however. When they saw this scene, the audience was silent. There was no sound, he couldn't even hear Whitebeard's heart. Because they found, Whitebeard stood there in shock. There was an expression of horror on his face, his eyes were filled with despair. And that knife, it was indeed cut on Ron's shoulder. But even the skin was not broken. The supreme sharp knife, carrying Whitebeard's lifelong strength, didn't even leave the mark of the knife, Zhao Li's. No one believes that he saw this scene, after looking at it again and again. Everyone finally made sure that they didn't look at them. Marco. Masonry Joes. Volley 6. Sengoku. Garp. Marine 3 Admiral. Everyone opened their mouths in astonishment, unable to close them for a long time. How is this possible? How could Whitebeard be 10 times stronger? The damage done to Ron was not as good as before. Anyhow, some skin was cut before, revealing some blood. But this time, there was not even a trace left. Is this Ron at noon? This is too scary. Even 10 times old dad. Chapter 138, auto-generated chapter title. 138. Ron clicks in the air, Ace spontaneously burns, seeking subscription. The scorching sun is in the sky, a long time of peace. As if time has stagnated, except for the sound of waves. There was no other sound. Whitebeard's eyes widened and looked at Ron in amazement. Unbelievably said, "Why, how can there be no harm at all? You are not so strong even in the daytime." Whitebeard naturally watched how Ron confronted the ant during the day. He thought that was Ron's strongest form. Whitebeard is confident, even in the face of Ron at that time. In his current state, he was confident that Ron would be hacked to death. But, why is Ron not hurt at all now? Ron shook his head lightly. As everyone knows, when he and his aunt were fighting, even though he also used the state of self-respect in the sky and the world. But at that time, it was the ordinary version of heaven and earth, and I was the only one. And now it's the ultimate version. This trick is in the original book, and Ace Kano needs to burn his life to use it. Belongs to the same trick. But now, with the system, during the time of forcibly summoning the noon sun, Ron can open the ultimate version of heaven and earth without any limit and consumption. Not only that, Ron's current strength was much higher than when he was playing against the ant. At that time he could only play out 60% of the crime of arrogance template. In other words, 60% of Ace Kano's power. This is also Ron's strongest state in Whitebeard's impression. But at the moment, after 750 times of killing Ant, killing Kaido, and killing so many pirates in the underwater prison, Ron's template progress has reached 90.6%, almost able to reproduce the strength of Ace Kano. Not to mention, there is also the blessing of the noon sun. Ron in this state, not to mention Whitebeard, it's useless even the Demon King in the original book comes. He has now surpassed the real Ace Kano. After all, the ultimate form of skills can be unlocked without restriction. Have you finished with one knife? Ron looked at Whitebeard in front of him. Just said lightly. Whitebeard looked at Ron incredulously. Just now. He put aside his rhetoric, said it was for Ron to stand there and then take him again. And Ron really did, he really stood here and didn't hide. But his own knife didn't have any effect, not even as good as the previous one. Whitebeard is the closest to Ron. No one knows better than him how little harm this knife caused to Ron. Advertisement. Is the gap really that big? Whitebeard has compressed all his life into these 10 minutes. He has no room to break out anymore. In other words, the knife just now was already his strongest strength. When asked by Ron, Whitebeard didn't even know how to answer. And at the moment, the members of the Whitebeard Pirates are all dumbfounded. Dad's strongest blow, he didn't even have the qualifications to cause harm to Ron. Not long ago, they even fantasize about victory. Because the old man not only defeated 3 big generals in a row, he even severely damaged Martial Marine and Marine heroes. This incredible record, it's really inspiring. All the pirates have even cheered for victory. But who can think of it? The change came so quickly. With such a powerful Whitebeard, the old man didn't even cut Ron. Whitebeard just lost. Lost so thoroughly, this really makes them unacceptable. Because they know very well in their hearts, what does this mean? This means that all the pirates they're here today have no chance to leave. This Ron's fighting power was so terrifying that they couldn't help but think of the fate of daytime ant pirates. After the ant was killed by Ron, no one left alive. This can be seen. How decisive Ron is with the pirate. And they are now facing this dilemma, if the old man is killed. So, their fate is exactly the same as the fate of the ant pirates. Not only failed to rescue Ace this time, also caught up with the entire Whitebeard pirate group. Wrong, not just them, the Whitebeard Pirates. There is also Kaido Beast's pirates next to it. Kaido is dead. None of the Beast's pirates can run away. If the old man died here, the entire 4 emperors would be missing 3 directly. There is only one Redhead Shanks left. It is impossible for a single 4 emperors to compete with Marine. Shanks was caught sooner or later. It's not the bird. Marco and Diamond George looked at each other, BEFC. It's a dead end now. What are you waiting for at this time? Left and right are also dead. It's better to rush up and fight Ron. Then, almost in desperation, all the captains of the Whitebeard Pirates. They rushed in Ron's direction together. Ron just looked at Whitebeard lightly. Advertisement. Then he stretched out his hand and grabbed Whitebeard's knife so abruptly in his hand. The blazing high temperature instantly passed through the blade to the handle. Whitebeard's hands were burnt red all at once. I had no choice but to let go of the big knife. This supreme sharp knife turned red in Ron's hands. Subsequently, right in front of Whitebeard, the knife melted directly. Become molten iron. Zilazila flowed to the ground. As one of the most powerful supreme sharp knives in this world, it is actually this turn to end. Ron didn't even glance at the knife, just staring at Whitebeard and asked. Edward Newgate, did the group of kids who saw you come to rescue you desperately? And because of an ace, you caught up with all of your Whitebeard pirates. Whitebeard frowned and said in a deep voice, Ace is my son, no matter what the price, I will come to save him. Really, are they not your sons? Just one son, and take everyone's lives. Is this your responsibility as a father? Whitebeard was stopped by Ron. After a pause, he said. Even if one of them is caught, I will definitely come to rescue. Ron shook his head and said, change to another person, will you really come to save it? At this moment, Whitebeard hesitated. Ace is special to him. Whether it is the relationship between old friend Roger or his expectations of Ace. Among all the sons, Ace's weight is indeed extraordinary. When the 4th Division Captain Sachi died, Whitebeard did not take the initiative to pursue Blackbeard. When he learned that Kazuki Oden was killed by Kaido, he did not go to Kaido for revenge. After all, Whitebeard also has his own selfishness. Why are you telling me this? White asked with a frown. In full view. As a Mara fruit capable person, flames are ignited all over his body at this moment. I just want to tell you that no matter what price you pay, you can't save Ace. Whitebeard. 6 more, Ron finished, in Ron's current state. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Ace ignited quickly. When you are determined to be pirates, you should make plans to be executed at any time. When Ron's fingertips met Ace, pointed to Ace on the execution platform. Slow moving, stretch out your finger, Ron said indifferently. Ace didn't even have time to yell, he can drop the core temperature of the sun anywhere. Then it was turned to ashes directly on the execution platform. Chapter 139, Auto-generated chapter title. 139. Alas, if Whitebeard was stronger, kill Whitebeard. Ron. Whitebeard was stunned. The beginning of this battle was to rescue Ace. In other words, the first reason for such a big consequence was simply to rescue a pirate. But no one thought that things happened to this point. Catch up with Kaido pirates, catch Ant pirates, and Whitebeard pirates. The direction of the battle became more and more uncontrollable. So that later Whitebeard, his mentality has evolved to kill Ron. Even beyond the scope of saving Ace. But, when Ace really died in front of him, Whitebeard was completely desperate. This time-consuming battle used the entire team of the Whitebeard pirates. It turned out to be this ending in exchange. Not only did he not rescue Ace. Moreover, their Whitebeard pirates will not escape Ron's palm. Unexpectedly, Ron was so decisive. Before the knot was about to defeat himself, he killed Ace in advance. This can be said to be murderous. This guy, it certainly wasn't for nothing. He is destroying the last trace of fighting spirit of the Whitebeard pirate group. Whitebeard finally reacted. Ron, every action is not for nothing. There is a meaning behind it. He chose to kill Ace at this time when he was about to lose. Just to destroy their remaining fighting spirit in the Whitebeard pirates. Whitebeard looked up. After the death of Ace, it was discovered that all the people in the whole country were in depression. They lost hope of victory. Even the purpose of this trip no longer exists. The death of Ace directly became the last straw to crush the Whitebeard pirates. Many pirates knelt directly on the ground instantly. Become weak and weak. Daddy is defeated, Ace is killed, 2 blows come one after another. How can ordinary pirates like them stand this? Even Marco, the Phoenix. At the moment, he couldn't close his mouth in astonishment. Suffered for a moment, only then stood up. Ron stared angrily. He was about to rush over and die with Ron. Advertisement. At this moment, the diamond behind George immediately went up and grabbed Marco. Luffy was even more confused. The whole person is the same as losing his soul. He looked at Ace, who was already a little bit ashes, in astonishment. Although he couldn't understand why Ace, who was Mara fruit, was actually a little bit ashes. But, the sad mood at the moment is getting worse and worse. This is called Ron's Admiral. It's so powerful that it's desperate. Luffy fainted directly to the ground. Garp on the side also looked worried. Ace's death also dealt a great blow to him, but Ron killed it after all. Even if Garp wanted to teach Ron a lesson, he couldn't do it. Not to mention, when he just wanted to make a move, he was placed on the ground by Sengoku. Garp, what are you doing? Don't you want to live anymore? If you rush forward now, that Ron will kill you without hesitation. This time Sengoku didn't use the justice behind him to suppress Garp. Instead, he said this sentence directly, because he knows it very well. Ron has his own view of right and wrong in his heart. He is not a rigid justice like Marine, in other words. If he wants to kill, it doesn't matter what your identity is. Not because you are Marine. Will not kill. Take the previous Shichibukai. Marine's justice would never kill Shichibukai, who was recognized by the world government, but Ron would never kill him. As long as Ron is judged to be evil, then, no matter what his status, he will be merciless. So Sengoku knows very well that if Garp rushes forward at this time, in Ron's eyes, he is a group of pirates. Ron would attack Garp without hesitation. With Garp's strength, he is not Ron's opponent at all. Then there is only one end. Even Garp will be killed by Ron. This is not what Sengoku wants to see. In fact, Whitebeard was right. Ron really wanted to destroy the fighting spirit of everyone in the Whitebeard Pirates. There are at least nearly 10,000 pirates on the court. They are mixed with marine. It is impossible to eliminate all the pirates with one big move. Ron didn't have time, and killed them one by one. Moreover, killing these pirates does not increase any progress value. It's better to destroy their fighting spirit and let Marine deal with these guys. Since there was no reward he wanted, Ron had no interest in doing such useless work. Sengoku guessed this point quite right. Advertisement. Ron did have a special measure in his mind, but it is not the right and wrong view as he said. Seeking flowers. Ron's criterion is whether he can increase his template progress. As long as it can bring an increase, even 5 elders in Yim, he would kill them. And Ron would really do it. The reason why he hasn't done anything with 5 elders in Im now. That's all because of the crime of arrogance template. It is no longer possible to get the progress value by killing 5 elders in Yim. Ron left them to the next template. After the crime of arrogance template reaches 100%, Ron will kill Marijoy with the new template and eliminate Yim and 5 elders. And Ron has already figured out what to choose for the next template. The Sin of Anger, Meliodas. Ron is still very interested in his magical counterattack and the Devil Plus mode. The system announcements. 0 each unlock a template, you unlock a world, Ron free to choose to go or stay. According to the system, the next one to open is the world of Naruto. With the height of the group leader, when you go there, it is estimated that you will be regarded as a ninja. Forget it, I don't know when this will happen, let's talk about the future things later. Ron didn't even think about it. Let's finish solving all the troubles on the pirate side. After all, after killing Whitebeard, it's still 0.2% short. I don't know who can come and fill this 0.2, that being the case. Whitebeard had little vitality left. Ron decided to take down the 9.6% first. So, now that Whitebeard had finished his attack, 0. Now it's his turn to attack. Ron smiled and walked over to Whitebeard. Edward Newgate, if only you can get a little stronger. It's a pity. Ron has always felt that Whitebeard couldn't be stronger and provided him with an extra 0.2%, which was a bit regretful. Of course Whitebeard couldn't understand what Ron meant. But I always feel full of ridicule in this sentence. Do you think I am too weak? Really arrogant? Now that Ace is dead. Then let the whole marine be buried. Next I will use all my strength. Turn the entire island into ashes. In the ultimate form of shock fruit.